So the government has slowly, over the last 4 years, been depleting the amount of Freon that is made. Okay? 2020, there's not going to be Freon anymore. Most homes have 10 SEER systems, which is the energy efficiency rating, that run on the Freon refrigerant. Okay? So just because your system isn't working with a 10 SEER doesn't mean you're going to get a brand new system, because they do have synthetic Freon out there now that a lot of companies are using, just like synthetic oil for your car, they have synthetic Freon. Okay? So, but First American will pay for all of the Freon. We do not put a cap on the Freon. If they need 8 pounds of Freon and it's $1,000, we will pay for all of it. That's a huge price savings for your client. Okay? If the system needs to be replaced, we do the government mandate of a 14 SEER. So we will replace both sides of the system. So if the air handler is failing, the compressor is working, First American will pay for both sides of the system. It's not the homeowner's fault that one side failed and the other side didn't. They shouldn't have to pay for that. Okay? Other warranty companies will only pay for the failing side, and the homeowner is responsible for the other side. This is important for you to know because you have to replace both sides, because now the 14 SEER run on a refrigerant called Puron, and it can't be mixed with the Freon refrigerant. Okay? So you have to replace both sides. And First American covers both sides of those.
That is a strong point.
It's huge. Y'all like a deer in headlights, so I just want to make sure everybody. I want everybody to understand. Okay, so your air conditioning system that sits outside, right? You have most people are familiar with the compressor, the condensing unit, because it sits outside and it's got the big fan, right?
So and it gets rusty and you get pine straw in it.
It's dirty and it's, sometimes it's loud. But inside the house, maybe in your attic or in a closet or something, is the air handler. Those two work together to get your house cool, okay? Right now, most of the systems here run, or 10 SEER, most of them are 10 SEER, and they run on Freon. You might hear it called R22, okay? This right here has been mandated by the government to no longer be made, okay? So if your home, your personal home, has an air conditioning system this size or smaller, it's running on Freon. And it's the refrigerant that it takes to cool the system, okay? So that's not going to be made anymore. This is the last summer that it is even being made, and I don't know the price of it as of yet, but last summer it was running about $150 a pound to get this, because there's so few of it out there. There's like hardly any drums made by the government. There are synthetic Freons that can be used. So if the system just needs like a recharge and it just needs a shot of coolant, they will put a synthetic Freon in there, okay? But all the new systems run on this. And all the new systems are now 14 SEER. So they're more energy efficient for our environment. We replace that unit that sits outside and the unit inside at the same time. So if one side's failing, the other side's running, we replace both sides and pay for them. If you take nothing away from today, I hope you take away a lot of stuff, but if you take nothing else away, that is a big nugget that you need to take away. First American Home Warranty will pay for your client to get both sides of their air conditioner repaired or replaced. Okay? That's a huge nugget. And we pay for all of the Freon. We do not cap it out. I don't stop at 5 pounds. I don't stop at $10 a pound. I pay all of it. Okay? Those are huge points. But that's what I'm there for. I want you to call me. My information's up front. I have given you a seller coverage that I talked about briefly. My information, call me and I can talk about it with your client so that you don't have to.
Now, Lori,
yes.
Tell me if you like this setup. Sometimes you're talking to your clients and it could be evenings or weekends. I always start with a text to my home warranty rep, so that, because if it's not during the day, but plus even, they could be standing there talking to somebody. So I start with a text and then, see if you need a call or whatever.
So a lot of times, when you've closed on a house and the homeowner does get a home warranty, there's a lot going on at the closing table, right? And it might just totally go over their head that they've gotten a home warranty, right? And now it's 9:30 at night on a Saturday, and their refrigerator is leaking and not cooling, right? Now their food is spoiling. Who are they going to call? They're going to call y'all because you're the one who sold them the house, right? Well, I don't know what to do. I used to have a landlord that would, that I could call, or that have a maintenance person. Or I lived with mom and dad in the basement, and I call mom and dad. Now who do I call? So they're going to call you. So quickly, you can shoot me a text. This is what's happening. Is this a claim that can be called in? What do they need to do? So at that point, I will send a text or an email to your homeowner and tell them this is an 800 number that you can call to place the claim, or here is our website to visit, and they can place the claim online. Okay? A lot of times they have the information and they've like, some people are with it. I try to be, but I'm not always very organized. But a lot of times they're with it and they know how the process works, and they call in the claim themselves. I prefer there to be a claim that happens and y'all never even know about it. That means the whole process is working like it's supposed to be working. Okay? You're going to get the call, like Stacey said, because they're freaking out and they don't know what to do and they forgot they got a home warranty and how do they move along. Or they're going to call you honestly, and I talk very openly about this. They're mad because something's not going their way in the warranty and they need help. And that's what I'm here for. So I say it's medical insurance for your house. That's how I compare it, right? It's
good.
You cannot go have heart surgery without insurance, just like you don't want to replace an HVAC system without having a warranty. Is it going to be smooth sailing? Sometimes it might. Sometimes it might take 3 or 4 phone calls, right? But in the end, it's worth it because it has saved you thousands of dollars. And you look like a rock star, and they're going to refer you again. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Are the clients able to select their own contractors with this home warranty?
No, we have licensed and bonded contractors that we use, so that we send out, so they don't have to go find somebody. And what if they found somebody that wasn't licensed or wasn't insured and something happened to their system? So they have to use the contractors that are with our program. That was a good question.
How fast do y'all get out to the house?
So when they call in to make a claim, they have 24 hours to schedule the appointment. The contractor does, and then that depends on the homeowner and the contractor as to how quick they can get out. I'm literally sitting on a claim right now that the guy needs an HVAC system and he is not available until 8 o'clock at night. And so he is refusing all these appointments. Well, and now he's mad. Honestly, he's very mad. But I'm like, I'm sorry. I can't, if you're not helping us, we can't help you either. So you have to bend some, right? I mean, it doesn't take 2 hours to put in a system.
A lifeline.
Right. I mean, a whole new system takes like 4 hours to put in. So, I mean, he needs to find a little bit. So, it is a little bit of give and take.
Right.
Yes.
One last question. Is
Yeah.
there any incentives that you do for the realtors who
No, we don't give any. That's kind of a gray area for RESPA, and so we don't step into it. I know a lot of people do, but we have a title company too, so we're under a little bit of a different umbrella where we're monitored a little differently than other warranty companies. So we can't give any kickbacks or incentives or anything like that. So that's how our rates stay really low too, though, because we don't give anything. We just give it all to them. Plus, what if you forgot, like we say that's a liability too, because what if you forgot to disclose that you got money back? And, there's just you're supposed to disclose anything that happens like that. And what if you forgot and then it became an issue, a liability issue? So we just stay away from that. Any other questions?
These are delicious.
Oh, I think this is my favorite sandwich.
Those are
There's not up here, though. I'm sorry.
There's not what?
There's not a roly-poly up here.
Oh, where did you get that?
Well, I got these where I live in Peachtree City, but there's one in Atlanta, Midtown, and then it was like Cumming or something. I don't know, not like right here. I was surprised. I was super surprised. Thank y'all. Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a great afternoon.
You too.
Okay. Seatbelts on. We're going to have a big time today. I'm going to cover writing an offer and
we're wearing the hat of, we're a buyer's agent first for the first 2 hours, and then Diane's gonna come in the third hour and say, okay, now, new hat, you're the listing agent, and somebody has sent over an offer. What do you do with it? How do you handle it? You know, what skills do you need to bring to the table? She also, very generously, is going to go over their 2 math sheets that most agents don't use because it's math. Net to seller and net to buyer. Now, it's not really, I'm not sure it's called net to buyer, but for the buyer, it's an estimation of what all your costs will be at closing. Now, in truth, that's the job of the lender, but you can razzle-dazzle your clients if you have a clue about how to provide that information. We're going for raving fans, remember. And then the net to seller it really is a service that you can provide. But again, it's math. But Diane's going over that. Yay. The math actually is easy it's knowing what numbers to plug in. So it's a lot of agents, including me, have shied away from it. But we shouldn't. We should embrace this. Okay. Y'all get something that no other Ignite class has gotten. And that is cheat sheets. So, I was sitting with another agent, and she said, I want to have these practice loops in my Dotloop so I don't have to keep asking you questions about which forms do I use. So I put there, and I'm assuming you picked up Reba's. So the titles are what she did, but I'm practice loop seller, and she's Chinese, so she spelled it her way. And anyway, I want to talk about these for a sec. You know what? I'll get some from the back. Diane and I try to teach you the right way to do things that we value clarity and organization, and you'll find as you start doing transactions with agents from elsewhere that things aren't necessarily as organized as ours. But anyway, we're going to try to teach you good practices, best practices right from the beginning so that you will kill it in this business. So let's talk about the practice loop buyers first. The first thing I want you to notice is that, so we're going to talk mechanics for a little bit, and then we're going to get into you didn't pick them up? All right.
Sounds like sitting there. Thank you. That's okay.
Well, there's more other things back here, and we're going to take the quiz on the purchase and sale agreement too. Anyway, there are 2 folders on that page. The bottom one are the brokerage documents, the buyer broker agreement, all that kind of stuff. And then we go into the contract. So today we're gonna do one of these, and this will be sort of your guide. If you want to, you can actually create a dummy buyer loop and a dummy seller loop in your Dotloop to have as a reference. So we're going to go through this. The next thing that you get, in addition to these cheat sheets for loops, I started a couple of months ago writing this document, and it was literally this lesson. You know how I've given you handouts of like the key nuggets. Well, in this lesson, I was going through, and it's almost like this is exactly what I say. I go through and I teach you this. This is very systematic. It's very specific. I didn't finish it, but anyway, y'all are the first, and I can't find it on my computer. It's killing me. So I had one printed copy. So again, this is like a supplementary cheat sheet of exactly what you do when you're making an offer. Now that I'm giving you these pearls, you're not gonna call me.
So you doing this so you don't call me
And
for it?
say, oh my God, wants to make an offer. What do I do?
That was funny.
Don't cost us.
No. Seriously, I am empowering you with everything I know. Okay. Now, and we're gonna go through this and actually do one. But by having this, like if you zone out and stop listening to me, and when we get to the part of where this ends, I'll make a note. But this covers an awful lot of it. Okay, so just for fun, before we create a loop and write an offer, let's take our purchase and sale quiz. Everybody pick it up? And the good news for you, I've already prepared answer sheets with the answers to each question. So this will be a learning, but I still want to see how you do.
do you think you need?
That's it.
Or how many, what number are y'all on?
I'm done.
I'm alright.
Okay.
Done? Awesome. Okay, who is not done? Excellent. Here we go. Which side pays the Georgia property transfer tax, buyer or seller?
Seller.
Okay, you don't get to answer everything because you've been through this. Okay. I just want some of the brand rookies to do. Yes, that was seller. Oh wait, excuse me, buyer.
I was about to say, I thought it was
Buyer,
buyer.
then I just scratched
Okay,
out
good.
buyer plus
Buyer.
What did you
and
say,
the
Renita?
si-
I said the seller. So I'm
Guess
wrong.
what? It's
The
buyer.
buyer, but the seller, pays for it, right? I saw
Okay,
that. in
pull
the
out your contract.
I did, I mean, I saw it in the contract,
Show me.
or I misunderstood it.
Show me. My job is to make you so familiar with this contract. You know, because I'm not going to be with you when you are with your client.
Hey, seller's contribution of closing, the seller shall pay the fees and costs of the closing attorney.
We said this was the at closing, buyer shall pay Georgia property transfer
Right,
tax.
correct. That's
What
I
is
said.
your?
And that was what I said, but I said, but the seller pays for.
No. You're
The buyer
misreading this.
selects it, but the buyer, okay,
Okay.
yes, I'm misreading that one.
Well, first of all, that's not considered a closing cost. I don't think. So
Okay,
let's parse that
all
out.
right, okay.
Number 2, is the buyer protected against the seller removing appliances, window treatments, blah, blah, blah? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does everybody get that? Because you're gonna have some first time buyers that are nervous Nellies and they want you to list all that stuff in the special steps. Seller to leave oven. And so you need to know, and if you haven't already marked, where in the contract that it says seller warrants at the time of closing the property and all items remaining with the property will be in substantially the same condition, including conditions disclosed, as on the binding agreement date. Except for changes made, based on requests for repairs. You do have to have a little faith there that, and yes, you can sue if the seller doesn't perform, but it is covered in the contract. Okay. If a property for sale has a tenant, must the tenant automatically vacate?
No.
Good. Let's see. A buyer that gets injured during a home inspection can sue the seller for damages. False.
Oh.
They can't, because in the contract it says buyer agrees to hold seller and all brokers harmless from all claims, injuries, and damages related to the exercise of these rights. Right to inspect. And shall promptly restore any portion of the property damaged or disturbed from testing or other evaluations. So that's part of the agreement, is if you want to buy a house, you go under contract, you have the right to inspect, but if you break something, you have the privilege of replacing it. So, believe me, all these little paragraphs in the purchase and sale came into being because in the past there were arguments. Things happened,
Yeah.
and the two sides argued about who was responsible, and there were lawsuits and whatnot, and so the Georgia Association of Realtors or Georgia Real Estate Commission rendered a decision and said, here's the deal. So, okay. Buyer chooses to terminate the contract after due diligence, and seller doesn't think the buyer deserves to earn its money back. How is this resolved?
Third party.
the holder of the earnest money interprets it, and if they can't, they have to send notification, and then if they can't make an interpretation, they can file an interpleader courts.
I'm so proud. Okay, this is long and convoluted, and fortunately, we don't have to do anything with this. Our beloved Lynn LaCroix utilizes the 10-day rule. This is the 10-day rule, where there's a termination and it's not crystal clear if the buyer gets the earnest money back, because it's outside of their due diligence, appraisal contingency, finance contingency, and it's not clear. And so Lynn has a process that is spelled out in this contract that she must follow to notify. This is if we're holding the earnest money. That's also why we want to hold the earnest money,
Yeah.
because she is gonna go by the absolute law. It's not, it's not guaranteed it'll be in our client's favor. So your takeaway is there is a process. It's a 10-day rule. Lynn handles it, but your bigger takeaway is always try to hold the earnest money, as opposed to some smaller brokerage or the closing attorney, or because they don't do this all day. Lynn lives and breathes this. She's got 6 Rawls Group offices. She knows the contract law inside and out. Number 6, buyer's agent is responsible for alerting his or her client if there are any cemeteries adjacent to any properties. Agent is showing the so is that the agent's responsibility or the client's?
Clients.
Okay, it is the client's. This was a real life situation that came up, and the client, it wasn't on the property, it was adjacent, but it really offended them or made them suspicious or whatever. And so they did terminate after they were, fortunately they were still in due diligence. Different people have different sensitivities, but Georgia is a buyer beware state. The onus is on the buyer to check out what kind of neighborhood it is. Is there a jail nearby? Is there a cemetery nearby? It is not your job. And in fact, you could offend them if you pointed it out. But in the buyer consult, you need to explain to them that they are responsible for checking out things that are of concern to them, the schools, etc. In the contract, it gives you 2 websites, I think. One to go to the GBI and see if there are any registered sex offenders that live in the neighborhood, and another one is just like crime in general. So don't answer their questions about, are there any, how many break-ins have there been in this neighborhood? They need to check it out. You're not even trained in that, so. Okay. Which side, buyer or seller, does the contract state has the right to select the closing attorney? Okay. So there are, how we have a relationship with Gannick. And we love them, and they take care of us, and they treat us beautifully, and they never let us down. So we could, in the private remarks of a listing, if you're the listing agent, say, closing will be at Gannick PC, Perimeter North office. Now, the buyer, the other side, they don't have to comply with that. So you will, as representing buyers, you're gonna see those private remarks where agents, and I can't swear that no one in our office does this, but in other companies will say they're building relationships with lenders and closing attorneys. And so they say, hey, if you, cut your rate 10% for my clients, I'll send business your way. I mean, it's business, it's not that it's illegal, but you need to know that it is the buyer's right to pick where the closing takes place. So that if an agent's just trying to say, no, I'm sorry, my buyer is not comfortable with that. My buyer prefers to close here. Now, sort of an exception to that is when you buy a house that's been flipped, renovated, and as opposed to being done by an individual, it was done by an LLC or a corporation. They tend to want you to close with the attorney that holds all their articles of incorporation, all their business paperwork. Again, you don't have to. Most people comply. Because remember, you got to get along with the other side. Have you had any of those?
Yeah, I was about to bring something up. I was dealing with, we got out of this because it was just not, they weren't handling business very well, and my buyer agreed. It was actually another Keller Williams agent.
Okay, wait, start from the beginning. You represent the buyer.
Yes, I represent the buyer, and it was a flip. And they did not disclose that the agent had part ownership in the home, what was related anyway. Mm-hmm. And then they said in private remarks that closing attorney is to be XYZ group. Title work has already started. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, if title work's already started, are we still bound to that? I mean, my person had no issue with it. But like a lot of other stuff came up, and they were like very insistent on certain things, like using their people and only their people. And I had to like really empower my buyer. Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to work with their lender. Like, I have my lenders. Like, I know that they're offering you a lender credit. I can see if mine will offer you a lender credit. Like, you don't. Like, it was just very, and you'll deal with that. Especially, I've started working with more buyers in like the Smyrna, pushing like some of Fulton area as well. And I've noticed that those agents, especially on those flips, they're very much like they want to control the entire thing. And like that's why it's so important to like learn this stuff, because I really had to empower my buyer. Like, you don't have to do what they're telling you to do. Like, these are your choices. But yeah, I see that all the time, especially on the flips. Like, preferred closing attorney or preferred lender or whatever, XYZ, and they don't have to go with them. They just they word it to where they think that they have to, or like they're going to get the best deal if they do. But Ganic price matches. So,
hello?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Ganic price matches. All you have to do is get a quote from another closing attorney, and 9 times out of 10, Ganic's rates are already better. Like, I had a buyer, he was a penny pincher just because he loved to save a literal nickel. And he found this random, it's called Bright Line Title, and they're actually based out of Florida, but they can practice in Georgia. And he was like, they're so cheap. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. I was like, give me the quote. I'll send it to Ganic. I sent it to Ganic. Debbie called me and she was like, we're way cheaper than them already. So like, just make sure your people know, like, yeah, you can get another quote. I'll send it over to Ganic. They'll match. So, fun fact.
Rachel, thank you for that contribution. Mm-hmm. So now, when you are trying to, represent your buyer and they want this house, okay, you do have to get along with the other side. So you can't just, So if the closing attorney and the location and everything that they are trying to ask for, if it's okay, roll with it, but know that your buyer can pick a different. That's the takeaway. That is hardly known in this industry.
Would this be a case where it would be good to go to Brad and ask him if he's aware of the other attorneys, because
the first thing I do is I Google the attorneys. Mm-hmm. You can learn a lot from checking out their website. Are they this big or are they this big? Mm-hmm. And really what you're looking for is, do they specialize in real estate law? Mm-hmm. Campbell and Brannon, mm-hmm. McManamy, and something. Yes, Wiseman Nowak, and Ganic. There are some that are Golden. You have nothing to worry about. So if they don't specialize in real estate law, that's when you think, you know, maybe I should do. So check for yourself first, and then, I mean, you can ask it anything. But,
Well, I mean, you know, that's something you wouldn't know starting out until you get into the business. Yeah.
right, exactly. Don't forget, you can post a question on the Rawls Group Facebook page. Anybody work with Brown, Smith, and Rubble? And they, if it, you know, people are very quick. Yes, great. No, stay away. Just, you know, use that baby. It's free, and because you're part of the Rawls Group, you know, it's there for you. Okay, number 8. Holder of earnest money is required to deposit the earnest money into their escrow or trust account within how many banking days?
5 business days.
Yes. Exactly. And you'll hear Brad say in sales meeting, getting that earnest money in and deposited, well, brought to the office, that is your first order of business. So, don't, now, well, I'm glad we're talking about earnest money. We do have the capability of, well, they can wire it if your client is maybe far away or out of town or whatever. Connect with Ellie, and she doesn't take calls on nights and weekends, so think ahead to, you know, business. Ellie will give the wire instructions, and then we're breaking in a remote deposit capability where if you live in McDonough and you've got an earnest money check, rather than have to drive to the office.
Oh my god.
I
This is
know.
forever
All
change drive.
Now, it's right now they just rolled it out to the ALC and staff to test the waters because we're trying to make sure, but yes. We're going to, where you don't have to fight the traffic to come in to deposit the earnest money
How
check.
is that gonna work? Out of curiosity, is that?
I have an app with, we bank with Fidelity, and they have a particular software, you know, we key it in, and so,
That would be amazing.
yeah, so it's in beta, but yes, that's a very cool advancement. Okay, buyer's earnest money, if the buyer's earnest money check bounces, does the holder of earnest money have to notify both sides in the situation, or keep it confidential? Yes, sadly, it is embarrassing, but yeah, once you go to buy a house, I don't like delivering a baby, you know.
Everything.
You'll just drop your drawers and, yeah. Sorry guys, but the women know. Can the buyer ask for any amount of seller's monetary contribution to closing costs that they want?
Yes.
Not necessarily subject to approval.
Everything's negotiable.
Okay, the point is correct, everything is negotiable. So what would put a cap, I mean, what do you have to check into?
The lender's like allowed
Yeah,
amount.
what they approve.
Because some are like 3%, 6% of purchase price.
Right, what did you say, Tia?
I said whatever the lender will approve.
Right. I wish that it were standard, excuse me, but literally every mortgage has its own rules. In terms of, and the whole point of it is the lender wants to see the buyer put some skin in the game.
Thank you.
And they, you know, if, for instance, if it's a conventional loan, you know, they don't want the seller to pay the closing costs, I mean, the down payment and, anyway, depending on those, they want to make sure that the buyer can repay this loan, so they'll put limits. So the short answer is, do not ask for closing costs for your client on an offer without checking with the lender. Because you can't, if what you ask for, if they say, okay, we'll get $5,000, and the actual allowable amount that the seller can contribute to is $4,500. The seller gets to keep that extra $500, and many a buyer thinks, "Ooh, I get to get the leftover in cash." No, and then they're really mad at you. And then my other horror story about closing costs that I did, I negotiated like the maximum amount for my buyer who was really tight on funds. And yay, and we were buying a flip, so of course we assumed that everything worked. Silly us. And had the inspection, and gee, there were a few things. It wasn't horrible. So then to address concerns, and I'm talking to the other side, and they're like, you know, we'll contribute some money, but we've moved on to another property, so we don't want to come back and fix anything. But we'll give you some money towards it. We already maxed out what they could contribute at closing. We had to terminate the contract because my client had no extra nickels to pay for the repairs herself. So my lesson was, it's not always good to ask for the maximum up front. Give yourself some wiggle room, because there will be sellers that they don't want to make repairs, but they'll say, yeah, I should have that fixed. The only way that they can transfer money to you is to contribute to closing costs.
I have a question about that. Is that situation somewhere, like let's say we've maxed out closing costs, there's repairs that need to be done, is that something that we could get a quote and then put it into escrow for, or does that count?
Yes.
Okay, I know that's
Closing
a hassle,
attorneys
but
hate that because
Yeah.
they're not in the business of coming back and inspecting repairs and that
Right.
sort of thing. Sherry Levin taught me a new trick. If the time you go binding, and let's say and I have a client with this, they had a 4.25% loan. Okay, well, we had this kind of situation with closing costs and repairs needed to be made. Talked to Sherry, and she said, I got one more trick up my sleeve. We can't, if we get too much in seller contribution to closing, I can buy down the rate, which you can pay money for a lower interest rate. You usually go in increments of 1/8%. But let me talk to the borrower, because it may be that's what happened, and she has lowered his rate by 1/8, and I want to say we had $1,400 extra in closing costs, and this was going to cost $1,700, and my buyer said, I am happy to kick in the extra $300, and she said, you will recoup it in 1 year of payments. So now, I think you got to be working with a pretty sharp lender to do something like that. So another reason to work with the pros. So, okay, Selena?
Yes.
Would you stand up and tell us what class you went to? Because I can tell you're going to sleep, and I know you're tired.
I wasn't going to sleep at all. I went to Paragon training at Georgia MLS.
And where did you have to go for that?
Tucker.
Oh, that's where they're
It's only
headquartered.
like 20 minutes away.
So Paragon is to Georgia MLS as Matrix is to FMLS. Georgia MLS is really good about, they've got a lot of webinars online. But was it a good class?
I wasn't so keen on the instructor.
Well,
Yeah.
no, hey,
But there's
feedback is valid.
there's some useful tools in there. I do feel like, as I've heard in the office, that people kind of use either all one or all the other, because there's a lot of stuff in the systems and setting up contacts and setting up automated emails. So I recommend everyone go and find out what it is, so at least you know the basics, and they give us a guidebook and stuff of Georgia MLS. Paragon. It's the same thing as FMLS. Well,
See
it's
what
sister.
you can find out online on their website. But I can't I've never been, but I applaud you for going. The rule for all Rawls Group offices is that we got the listing agent hat on. We put our listings in both. It's a political thing in that FMLS is mostly Metro Atlanta, Georgia MLS is the whole state. If you have a listing in Hiram,
You gonna need to be in that Georgia MLS because a lot of the brokerages out there don't pay for FMLS because Georgia MLS is a flat fee, and FMLS takes a percentage
of every
So,
transaction.
Yeah, so a lot of in like smaller when you get outside of like true metro, you're gonna have to be on that Georgia MLS. I have to
But
cross
being a
reference
part of
both.
this office, you're gonna do that anyway. But now, I'm putting my buyer's agent hat on, and it's a question, then you have to think, okay, where am I searching for property for my client? So, again, you think geographically, am I, kind of metro, but if you are in, Decula or, you need to know how to do searches on Georgia MLS to serve your clients. So that's if nothing else, you need, you're paying $25 a month for it anyway to be a member, and you should know how to do searches at a minimum.
And that's what they mostly covered. They really didn't cover how to do listings. She glossed over that real fast.
Right. And fortunately, in terms of listings, because we have the Bridge Interactive, which the office pays for everybody to use for free, you just put it in one place, bing, it goes to both. So that's a good thing. So what we're going to do is create a loop. So if everybody would fire up and get into Dotloop and let me know if you, now I know at the beginning of the class, I said, everybody bring your laptop every time. So, this is the one where you really need it. Okay. Most people would go to mykw.kw.com and then click on my transactions. Do I need to show folks how to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm at the login. Okay, so everybody got to the home page. Okay. Then I'm putting my cursor, I'm in the E-Edge control panel, and looking at my transactions, and I'm going to click Start My Transaction. So on your cheat sheet, did you get one of these here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm assuming that you had, I'm taking you from, okay, you have a buyer, you do a consultation, and do you remember the Google report needs analysis I shared with you? Okay, that, so anyway, I want you to try to follow this as we do what we're gonna do, and please make note of things you think of that I need to tweak on here. That, oh, you forgot to mention something. Like, obviously I did not say how to log in on this page. So, has everybody gotten to Dotloop? And you may have, yours might look like this. I don't even know, does everybody have at least one loop?
Well, I just got mine fired up, but where did you go once you got into KW.com? My transactions.
Mm-hmm.
Thing.
In the E-Edge control panel,
Scroll down.
that
Move the
rectangle.
cursor down to my transactions in the corner in the square box. In the square box, go up. In the square box, the black
Yes.
line. Over,
There's some.
over. You got
Okay,
it.
there's this rectangle.
Oh, that
You
one.
gotta ask
Right
them for
here,
it.
start my
Mhm.
Pass it out to us.
Is that the sheet you said you ran out of?
I made more copies. No, the one I ran out of was the buyer loop. Okay, I have another one up here, Selena.
Is there any falling along, right?
Okay. Because at the end of this, I want you to go, I guess I'll put it over there. Yay! I can do it because I got the cheat sheet. All right, so you're on, and I'm going to go into me. Okay. So, look up at the screen and see where I'm pointing to this. You can change the view to suit how you like it. Grid view is all the squares. List view looks like this. And compact view is really small. That doesn't help much. So do most of you have grid view?
Yep.
Okay. All right. We're going to create a loop. When I did this document, they've done an update to Dotloop. So I'll need to add, how do you create a loop? Because it was much more evident. You see this blue? What do we call this? I call it a pill. Looks like looks like medicine to me. Add loop. Click.
Don't.
Okay. Like bullet. So we call it a bullet. Okay. For this, usually when you start a loop with a buyer client, you don't know what they're going to buy, so you just make the loop be the name, their name. However, when it's going to be a property and we change the name of the loop to the street address of the property only because the closing attorneys track it that way. So we all bow to them and track all transactions by the street address. So, but let's pretend at this juncture we don't have the name. So just put, let's create it as, you see it's asking for the property address. Do your own name. So I'm typing in my name, because I'm my buyer. Okay? I'm going to click continue. Down here, the blue. Okay, I wish I could change Dotloop, but I don't think I can. You need to skip this step. Never, never, never choose a template at this stage. As you will see, it is for staff use only. It will fill up your loop with a whole bunch of stuff that you don't need. So it's confusing because there's a template here and then there's the word templates up here. But skip this step. So you just click continue. Now, when I'm a listing agent, sometimes I'll go and take a picture of the property and I will upload a picture here, but you don't have to. So we're skipping it. So I'm going to click done. And so all I have is, you know, the shell of a loop. Now notice inside it asks for what type is this? Okay, I'm working with a buyer. So what do we think it's going to be? Purchase. It's going to be a purchase. Whee! Now as soon as I've made a selection, it prompts, oh, what status? And which of these? It's pre-offer because we hadn't done nothing yet. And we don't know what the sale price is yet. So we have the beginnings of a loop. So now we want to put some stuff in it. Click view loop, please. Okay. Now is when I want you to look at this page and number 2. So we've done purchase pre-offer. Go to where, right under the word documents, you see that word folder? It's just going to default and say folder, but we want to give it a name. The way to change it is you go over to the 3 dots, far right, 3 dots, and choose rename. Now my cursor is at the beginning of the word, and I'm
that out and say, I typed buyer brokerage, but you can also just say brokerage docs. You know, there is, as long as you have the word brokerage in there, I'm happy. So I could have typed it in all lowercase, it doesn't matter, because when I get to the end and I press enter, the system will make it red and all caps. Whee! Okay, now we're going to add what we need for like the buyer brokerage agreement, all that good stuff. So I'm going to click on the templates box. Click. And notice that I've got the, well, third one down on me. You may have a personal and an inbox. But go down to the folder here that says buyer brokerage forms. Okay?
I don't see that.
Yeah.
Unless you renamed yours.
Okay, scroll your, okay, okay, can you X out of this? Click this again. I may have to do, yours is not seeing all of them, so there's something not right in your setup.
Stacy, excuse me, but I probably can't get in because I'm not with Atlanta Board. Okay.
I would,
That's fine, I'll follow along.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay.
Okay. Is everybody else seeing these, you know, look like this?
That might be because I have an iPad.
Mm-mm.
I was able to see it a couple weeks ago when I was testing it out and looking at it.
Okay. Lisa, I don't think that should be the problem. How about Lisa, would you sit by, can you sit by Renita? Renita, can you help Lisa? Helen, you see this stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Travis, you see it?
This is next to the
All right.
student.
Still learning. I'm just bold.
Okay. All right, we're going to put, I'm going into the buyer brokerage forms. I'm gonna select the first one, the buyer brokerage agreement, affiliated marketing agreement, and wire fraud. Check, check, check. Click copy. And there, it's put it in, and you say, okay. Whee! We've got 3 docs in there.
I think, okay, what I did, and can you show me if I'm right or not? Sorry to interrupt. But I clicked on this, and then it pulled up some paper.
That's not what I want. So back with the, can you X? Back to loops. Click in there. My account. Okay, do you see that? It's because it's still showing you're Midtown. You're not at the right office. Can you waddle out and see Diane and let her? That's fine, because you're not seeing our office docs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I don't know what the, I'm not sure how to do that.
Okay.
Okay, now we're gonna add a few more docs, and Reba, come back quick.
Okay.
We're gonna add some more, so I'm gonna click Add Document. I'm going to Templates again. This time, Lisa, did you get in?
No, still trying. But we're gonna follow along like that.
Shoot.
I need an
Take a
access.
picture with your camera of the screen. That's what I'm doing to try to go back.
Renita, she's in Dotloop, right?
It's just gotta get associate, land of order realtor, she gotta get that confirmation code.
Okay, have you joined the Atlanta board?
Yes,
Have they sent you your NERDS number, NRDS?
that's what I'm looking for now.
Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna select buyer disclosure forms. Click. And this is gonna make so much more sense. Well, pull out your practice loop buyers.
We're gonna miss a lot trying to do this.
Okay, so do you see that we have, that's okay.
147.
Yeah, the, like, I'm gonna pick CBO1, CBO4, 7, slide my bar down. Ta-ta, and I'll just at least start with those and click copy. So, and for our purposes today, it doesn't matter as much which ones you select, just pick a few. And these are PDFs that you're gonna share with your buyer client. They're gonna read them, there's no signatures involved, but it is our responsibility as their fiduciary to share with them, you need to know how bad a problem radon can be, or you need to know that, mold can be toxic. And so that's why we share these. I encourage you to read through them because your client might ask you, well, what about this? So you'll notice because I pulled these in first and these in, you see how it looks, but now I'm going to teach you how to rearrange documents within your loop, because we really want the buyer brokerage. So I'm going to click, drag, pull it up to now to where I have a blank bar, drop, blue, now it's at the top. I'm going to do the same thing, so if you accidentally drop it on top of another document, you'll get a pop-up that says, did you want to replace this with this? Your answer is always no. Pull it up, but you have to see behind it that there's a blank space. So, how's everybody doing with moving their docs? You may have trouble. Awesome. Okay. Now, if you would, let's open the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. And we will skip autofill for right this minute. What we have done, some things we've pre-selected, like for instance in number 3 that yes, you're an independent contractor, not an employee. Number 4, that the 2 types of agencies that we do not offer are dual agency and sub-agency. So, and then if you scroll to the final page, you'll see that we've already pre-filled our office's information here, just to save you a little time. Thank you, Stacey. Okay, so we have everything that was in 2. Let's pull together what we need to make the offer. But before we make the offer, Ryan,
What's up?
tell me about what I'm talking about in number 3 here. Okay, your buyer wants to make an offer. What is the first thing you're going to do?
I'm going to call listing agent.
And what questions are you going to ask?
Is the property still there?
You'd be surprised. People don't always update FMLS and Georgia MLS the second that they agree to a contract. And you'll always get the excuse, oh, I told my assistant, I guess she didn't do it. So you ask first, because it could have happened an hour ago, you know? You don't want to go through all this work for nothing. Keep going, Ryan.
Have you received any offers?
Okay, why do you think you want to know that?
Just if there's any kind of competition out there.
Exactly, because we're now in strategy mode. Strategy. So you need to know if there's any competition. Keep going.
My client is considering making an offer.
Okay, we don't tip our hand and say, oh, my client loves your house, she's just gotta have it. You know, they may not be very negotiable if you completely spill the beans, but my client is considering making an offer.
Which terms other than price are important to the seller?
For instance, seller, my contract, the wife is a school teacher and she did not want to leave the house until school is out in May. So we intentionally had a possession date that would suit her. They love us. Okay, next.
If you don't have the seller, the disclosures are attached to the listing. You ask the listing agent to email them to you.
And you have to provide your email address. I get this question all the time. Well, how do I get the disclosures? I'm going to quickly show you on. Tia, have you ever been through? Tia, have you made an offer yet?
No.
Okay. Renita, have you done a contract?
Well, I don't know how you do it. Dee Dee does it. I look at them when they come through.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Denise McEnany, shame on you. Okay, looking at this listing, do you see what this little icon is right here? It's an open door. It means, ooh, they have an open house. Just to familiarize yourself, familiarize you with. Okay.
I need to know.
What'd you say?
Just missed all the stuff I needed to know.
Well, remember I gave you the cheat sheets. Okay. See this listing? There is a little icon here,
Right, go back.
and it represents documents. So this good agent, Susan Ishback, she attached the seller's disclosure, etc., to the listing. So when you're going to make an offer, go to the listing in FMLS and look for this icon, and if it is there, click, and she had a survey, and then she has multiple disclosures. Let's see if we. Oh, she has a survey. Excuse me, a survey, not a survey. Oops,
What's a survey?
Yeah.
it's a typo.
Is that a real estate term?
I've never done
A survey.
Yes.
$1 million listing. They get
Susan
surveys
did all
instead of
kinds of
surveys.
Wow, she's deluxe. Okay, so she did this. She's got the legal description, the warranty, lead-based paint, sellers, da 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 da. Okay.
this is the kind of agent I want you to be. I want you to, when you have a listing, you're gonna attach it to the listing so people can make offers lickety split.
What
Okay.
address was that again? 786 Brookridge Drive.
Oh, you're already.
Are you talking about, what was the address?
Yeah, because I want to benchmark that.
Okay, 786 Brookridge Drive, Northeast.
Okay, that should be enough.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So, Ryan,
Yes.
nope, I'll pick on, it's Selena.
Yes.
So before we're, filling out documents, we've still got some work. After you talk to the listing agent, get on everything we need from them, yes, sir.
Okay, so you say go there to FMLS and look at the documents for,
See if they're there.
just to see if they're there.
Sadly, the majority of the time, they're not.
And when, if they are there, if they're not there, then what are we doing with that information?
Okay, that's where, the last thing you read.
Yeah, that's, okay, so that's
Do
it.
that, if they're not attached to the listing,
Mhm.
then you have to ask the listing agent to email them to you.
Okay, all right, I got you.
So she'll send you, he, a PDF copy. So they're, but it is annoying when you're a listing agent, you'll understand if you go to the trouble of attaching them to the listing, and yet the other agent, can you email me the things? Well, I put them on the listing, you know. Don't be, hello, Diane.
Maybe a smaller conversation.
I'm sorry?
No, it's okay, I got it. Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay.
Because it says we gotta work it out.
All right, so Selena, who do we talk to after we talk to the listing agent?
The buyer's lender.
And tell me what we do.
We ask for a pre-approval
Mhm.
letter. I suppose we could ask a bit of pre-qualification too.
Okay, do you know what the difference is?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, pre-approval, yeah, I got myself mixed up. That's the tiredness. Pre-approval is when you're approved.
and the shorthand for that is pre-qualifies means the lender believed everything you told them on the phone. Pre-approved means they verified.
Right.
They got the documents to see that you make what you said you make, et cetera.
Right. Give property address via email, after call, or text. Ask how many days you should write for the financing contingency. Ask how many days you should write for the appraisal contingency. Ask if buyer has submitted all requested docs.
Okay, what do you think I'm getting at there? Are they complying? Are they dragging their feet, or are they coughing them up when you ask for them? Because you need to know if your buyer is going to be a problem. You know, we're trying to get to the finish line.
Based on what we talked about earlier, shouldn't we also ask about the closing costs? Can we add that here?
Yes. Thank you, Selena. Perfect.
Max.
So will you write that on somewhere? Yes, ask how much in closing costs can we ask for? And even if they say 4,000 would be the max, then maybe we're only gonna ask for 2 or something, so we leave some cushion in case we need to get money for repairs. Excellent, Selena. Okay, you can't have a contract without a legal description. So Gannick very nicely will give us copies of the warranty deeds for free, usually within a matter of hours. So step number 5 is to email that email address specifically, and I just type in the subject line, need WD for the warranty deed. They know what it is. And then please send the warranty deed for 123 Main Street, Atlanta, Georgia 30309. And then in parentheses, I put Fulton County. Because, you know, Atlanta's Fulton and DeKalb, and warranty deeds are kept by counties. So they have to know which county to go to. And there could be a 123 Main Street in multiple counties. So it's, you know, if it's coming from your KW email address, no questions asked, they'll send it back as a PDF. Free service. Now, in Susan Eschbach's listing, she provided it, okay, as part of one of the docs. Sadly, many people don't. It is sort of the responsibility of the listing agent, but we teach y'all and empower y'all to get it yourself, so you always got it. Okay, and you know, Reba, on the sheet that showed practice loop buyers, if you pull that one out,
I was able to fix
right,
it.
but I was gonna say you can also, I think you tucked it back there, the it should look sort of like that.
Cool.
Okay. So now we're not going to talk about number 6, but
Fire alarm.
You're out on Saturday with a buyer and they're like, this is the one, I'm excited, we want to make an offer on this. You're their fiduciary, you do need to, don't let them make a crazy offer. You know, it's in that, you know, some newish buyers, they property's listed for 500, they say, I'm gonna offer 350.
We have a nice day. Well, we gonna
Exactly.
do like 10,000.
Or they're so excited, they just love it, and they're like, I'll pay 550. You know, it's listed for 500. So we want to help them not overspend, but also not waste our time and the seller's time. So that's where number 6, where I have you may need to do a CMA on that property. You need to check and see what other things have sold for in the neighborhood, and you know, comparing. Guess what? It's work to make an offer, but this is why we get the big bucks. And we want you to really protect your client and do well by them and serve them. So I just threw in some resources you can use. Realist. Does everybody know what Realist is and where it is?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in Matrix, and let's pretend like I'm back at the home page. Here is public records. You got Realist Tax, and it uses Adobe Flash, so it's kind of slow. Wowzer. Okay. Not yet, okay. All right. Who's willing to let me look up their home address?
Put mine up. 270 Boulder Park Lane, Southwest Atlanta 30331.
Woohoo! Okay. So if, to help your buyer figure out how much to offer, one thing you can do is, you scroll down here, you can see how, when Renita bought in 2018, let's see, so you can see based on how much was borrowed, and you sort of guesstimate what you're looking for, mainly if they bought it in 2005, 6, 7 before the crash, and they paid a high price, and their mortgage is close to what they paid for it. You just know that the Seller is probably very anxious and not gonna be as negotiable on the price, but these are some finer points. Well, another thing I like to do is I'll look at the neighbors, and you can, this does the 20 closest neighbors, and you can sort of see what they paid, but you gotta make sure you're comparing apples to apples on here. That's just another tool. But the better way to do it is to create a search. Is that attached or detached?
It's detached.
Okay. And, okay, is there a subdivision?
Yeah. Boulder Park.
Okay, and we want to find closed. Only one.
It's a small neighborhood. It's only 8 houses.
Okay.
I think I was the only person who bought in like 20 years.
Okay, if that's the case, then I'm gonna look beyond her neighborhood. So, tell me your street address again.
Boulder Park.
No, wait, the number.
270.
And I'm gonna say maybe a half-mile radius, and now let's see. What? Oh, 11 matches. Okay, so sometimes the neighborhood itself is not big enough. This hopefully is, you're thinking, oh, we went over this in the price to sell CMA class. Anyway, but you wanna, these are some of the things you need, just like when you're coming up with how to price a listing, you're gonna use the exact same process for advising your buyer. Because who knows, you might be the hero and get it for them for a lower price than they were thinking. Know what I mean? Jelly bean. Okay. All right. So the top of the second page. Ooh, the listing history. If you don't know this trick, ooh, baby, you need to know this. Okay, here we are, and I'm going back to. Okay. All right, this little friend, sad to say, has been on the market since July of last year. Poor, pitiful listing. Okay, so here's an icon that is your friend. And you can even check into this before, when you're taking your buyers to look at properties. Click on the alarm clock. Click. Aha! It has a past, a history. Started off, and so you kind of go back in time. You can see that, yeah, it's been under market, but it fell through. This gives you intel for when you're talking to the listing agent of, well, have you gotten any offers? Or you could say, I see you were under, you've been pending twice, but it's fallen through. Why was that? And of course they wanted to say, oh, it was the buyer's financing, but sometimes it's because of the inspection report, So you're sleuthing for your buyer. So don't fail to check the alarm clock to find out what the backstory is on each listing, so you can serve your client better. Yay. Okay. I don't know why I left this here. Okay. We're gonna skip 7 because we are gonna go ahead and fill it in. Now we need to create an additional folder. So we have this brokerage docs folder, but we want to put our offer in a separate folder. It's easier for Lynn LaCroix and everybody else to, where is that doc, you know? So I'm going up here and clicking add folder. And guess what? It's called new folder. That's not specific enough. So I'm gonna click the 3 dots, rename, and you can call it contract folder, you can call it offer folder, you can call it contract docs, something like that. Turn it red, all caps. Okay, I'm clicking something, just speak up if you're not tracking. Click on templates, then find purchase contract forms and click. Everybody there? Okay, I'm gonna choose, and why don't we choose whatever forms I have listed on the practice loop buyer. Somebody can call out, obviously we have the purchase and sale. What else?
Binding agreement.
I see appropriate financing.
We're here, right?
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay.
I did this one already.
Right. Read me those. Yes, skip the first 2 just because they're gonna come later after binding.
Purchase and sale agreement. Exhibit A, conventional loan contingency. Exhibit C, seller property disclosure. Exhibit D, community association fees.
Okay, all right, now, which of those, Travis, will I get from the listing agent? Or from the listing?
The seller disclosure.
And
Can you tell me?
what was,
The community?
yes. The seller has to, if there is an HOA, only if there is, they have to fill out the community association disclosure that says, what do you have to pay? What does it cover? How often do you have to pay it? Is it a monthly or an annual? Right, so, we are definitely gonna provide the financing doc, which in this case I'm choosing, but notice I've got, conventional, there's conventional, FHA, VA, and, okay, oop, I went too far. Fuddy-duddy. Anyway, the last one's all cash. Maybe all cash was first. There we go, all cash, conventional, FHA, and VA. So you pick whichever one your client is going to use. So, you're either downloading the seller's property disclosure and the community association disclosure from the listing, or the agent is sending it to you. So you gotta get it in here. How are we gonna do that? So we're gonna say add document, and there are 2 ways. If it comes to you, you've already downloaded it and it's a PDF, it's in your downloads folder on your computer, click browse and go and pick whichever one it is. Ah, here's a lead-based paint exhibit. And here's this. And here's this. Oh, how fun. Happened to be here.
F322, F316.
Yes. So, the other way to do it is you just got an email from the listing agent with those docs attached to it. Click on email. You're gonna copy this long email address for your loop, and all you have to do is click that. Then you go into your, gotta open my Gmail. What? Okay, I'm gonna, pretend that Anthony's email has a PDF attached. Not a good example. Here we go. This is a good one. So he's got an attached now. It happens to be a YouTube video, but shoot, I want to use an example that will work.
Can you go to your sent items? And
Here we go.
Yeah.
I got one. All right. So here's one. Here we go. So you find an email that has the PDFs attached. And what you do is you forward it. So you click forward. And then in the to field, you're going to Control V or right click paste that long email address that you copied. And you hit send. And give it a couple of minutes. And that PDF will be added to this loop. It's not instantaneous. I'm just refreshing. All right, while that's coming over, joining us, I'm going to put the, notice how these look different than what I have on your practice. It's because I renamed them. We put the GAR form number like F322 at the beginning just to help you find it, but that doesn't have to be a part of the name of the document. So to the right of that, I'm going to click the three dots. I'm going to click rename. And Travis, what do I, for the Community Association fees disclosure?
Exhibit D.
Okay. Okay, what is the lead-based paint?
Exhibit D.
Owner's property disclosure?
C.
Conventional loan?
A.
Okay, knowing me, what do you think I want to do with these documents?
Put them over.
Yep. So I'm going to haul that baby up to the top. Okay.
To the top. Purchasing stuff.
Where the heck is B? What was B?
There is no B.
What do you think it is? What do you think we're missing?
Is it the binding agreement?
The
No.
warranty deeds.
The legal description. So I'm gonna just add a, I don't think I have a warranty deed handy. Hold on. Here we go. Here is a warranty deed. So, go back to my loop, and you can watch me do this. What the heck, where's that other thing? Oh, there was that thing I added. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna say add document, email, copy to clipboard, go to my Gmail. I'm gonna forward this one, because it has the thingy attached. Paste, send. And we will have a warranty deed in the loop shortly. Okay. So, while that's coming through, I want you to click on View Details up at the top.
Oh, wait, I have a question. Did you add exhibit B or no?
It's gonna be the warranty deed. So
Oh,
as soon as it
come through the email.
Mhm.
And where
As
you
soon as
get
it
that-
comes in, then I'll rename it Exhibit B.
And where do you get that email from? The email address from that you're sending it to?
Okay, watch this. I click add document, whoops. Click on this,
And you copy that.
and then you just click the red thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to my
Then you go to
this.
the email. Okay.
Mhm. It's weird, but it's magic.
And then take exhibit A through E is what we get from the listing agent.
We are getting, A is the, conventional finance. We are creating that one. So to get that one, went in here, whoops, add document, go to templates, go to purchase contract forms, and then up at here, you can type in the
It's
search.
F404. It's F404.
I know, but I'm showing you how to search for it.
Okay.
Type the word conventional, ta-ta, there it is.
And do you have to click on purchase contract forms to search that way? Or can you just search the whole thing?
Glad you asked that question. Of all these things on the left, we intentionally have put them, well, purchase contract form, everything in this logoed 2019 GAR forms, everything is in there. And then if you were to scroll down, and they all say Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter. You go all the way to the bottom and you click on GAR Interactive Documents, everything is in there, and it doesn't have Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter. So it's not branded to our office. And all these other forms, folders, like here in lease, rental, tenant, I just put the things that apply to just help people save time. So, yet you wouldn't go in seller disclosure forms to find the purchase and sale agreement. So you do have to, where would it be, you know? But that's why I'm going over this. All right, let's see what we got. Da, da, da. Here we go. Here's a warranty deed. So let's rename it. Okay. Whoop, I didn't finish getting these babies in order. All right. And this I don't really want because that was just to pretend. Okay. This is how you do this. Set it up, create it. We've been through this, so you, assuming that you have, in 2 minutes we're gonna take a break. Assuming that you had the conversation with your seller, you know, and you're, you filled out the purchase and sale, go ahead and open up the purchase and sale and X out of autofill. All of these boxes you can fill in. All right, watch me do this. I'm going back to the loop and I'm clicking on view details. Say I'm the buying agent. I'm gonna add Renita as my buyer.
How did you just get into that?
Okay.
You said X out of autofill, and then.
Well, I went backwards out of the purchase and sale.
Right.
So I was here, and I clicked view details.
Oh, okay.
And that's sort of the backstory to your transaction. And Dotloop you'll be there, but it won't know are you the buyer's agent or the listing agent. So you have to select that. It starts off, so I'm the buying agent. I'm doing this so you can see the results. So Renita, what is your email address?
Renita Crawley at KW.
She is gonna be buyer. And I'm not gonna fill this stuff in right now just to save time, but I would in life. Add person, so here's Renita. Okay, we are gonna, just for grins, give me your, oh, it was, what was the number?
270?
270.
Hold
And
on.
notice this stupid system, I don't know why, you have to put the number here and then go put the street address. Boulder something Lane.
Boulder Park Lane.
Three one.
Yep.
And is it Fulton?
Yes.
And I'm just gonna say, and where do you think I'd get the parcel or tax ID?
FMLS.
I'd go to the listing and I would scroll down and I would copy that. Okay? Okay. Now, because we're not under contract yet, there are only certain parts of this, the bottom, the rest of the page, that you need to bother filling in because this is, we don't use all these terms. This is a national program and like we don't have an escrow step in our transaction like they do in California. So, if you will, I'm gonna just say 300. And notice I'm not putting cents and I'm not putting commas. You can put commas if you want to, it's okay, but you never put cents. We wanna close the last day of May. We're making the offer today. You see how whenever there's a date, it's a calendar and you just get to click, that's a nice. Typically, we only give people 24 to 48 hours to get back to us. I'm gonna make the occupancy date the same as closing date. And that's kind of all I know at this point, and I don't have to worry with any of this other stuff. So after you fill in anything in view details, you've got to save, or you have wasted your time. So now, going back to the loop, I'm going in the purchase and sale, and I'm gonna click on autofill because I skipped this. Whee! Now I have, oh, look, there's Renita, me, blah, blah, blah. And yes. Okay, so I could have simply typed all this in myself. I chose to do it through view details and autofill, and also by especially putting the offer date because, oh my gosh, on like every exhibit and amendment, you gotta regurgitate what is the offer date. So it's a real time saver to just take 3 minutes at the beginning and fill in as much as you can in there. So notice how this is already checked 1B1 because best practice is that we attach a legal description, which we are doing. And based on what your client wants to offer, you're gonna put it in here, no cents, just dollars. If they're not asking for closing cost, 0. Don't leave it blank, because then they don't know what that means. So it's either something or it's 0. Now, when y'all all come to hear Lynn and Renee teach Contracts 101, Purchase and Sale next Tuesday after sales meeting, they're gonna literally go over every blank and give you best practice and guidance. So I'm not gonna do that today. So, is everybody gonna come to that meeting next week?
Yes.
And we will record it, but still. So the basic guide on all contracts, don't leave any blanks. If it doesn't apply to you, put 0 if there's a $sign, and if there's not a $sign, put NA. No blanks. Because you want to be crystal clear what you're telegraphing to the other side. Renita is my client, so I'm going to check that. So because we have that meeting again, I'm not going to go through every step. I will point out here in the earnest money, number 7, even though they give cash as according to Georgia Association of Realtors, we don't accept cash because the lender has to be able to trace the funds and see where they came from, because it's all about your borrowing. So, and the Patriot Act, they have to make sure that it isn't drug money or terrorist money. So cash, you never know where that came from. So check or wire transfer. Okay, the purchase and sale, which we all read last night or this morning. You know, blanks on the first page, and then we zip down to this page, and there is no one right way to assign letters to the various exhibits that you're going to attach. It is your choice. Your choice. Some people, they go down and they check the ones they're using, and then they just go A, B, C, D, E. I think that the first thing a seller wants to know is, how are you going to pay for this? So I tend to put the finance contingency as A. Because they've already seen the seller disclosure. I put the ones, that's the way my brain works. You can have your own system that you always follow, no right or wrong. So, tell me again, Travis, which ones we have. Do we have a community association?
Yes.
Okay, what else do we have?
Legal description.
Okay, I'm just going down. We have a legal description. Notice this one says legal description exhibit or other, because the warranty deed is an other. We're not actually using this form, but that's okay.
Lead-based paint.
Mm-hmm. Where's my lead-based paint? I got them?
I think so.
Okay. So then, go ahead and tell me the ones, how we did it there.
Conventional loan is A.
Nope.
I'm sorry, community association is going to be D. I'll do it in your order.
Thanks.
And then A. And then E.
Whoops. How the heck did W get in there?
And then B. And C.
Okay. So, what I want your takeaway to be is that there are 2 things you have to do on this page. You both have to check the appropriate boxes and put a letter. Yeah. Many new agents will forget one or the other. Or like they'll do the letters, but they don't check the boxes or whatnot. And then we'll... Okay, special steps. That's going to be covered. This is where you ask for a home warranty. You know, just anything sort of unique that's not already covered, you're going to ask for here. But we're going to save this topic because it's a whole big topic we're going to talk about another time. Okay, signature page. Woo! So I've got Renita here, and I filled everything in. I've triple checked. I've made sure that it's correct. Most people will send it to their client before they sign it. Down here under Realtor membership, there is Dotloop can't map our Realtor membership for some reason, so I'm just going to put ARA. Lynn said that that's acceptable. We teach that it is proper etiquette to fill out the listing agent's info. You fill out yours and the listing. Now, you don't know the clients, but you do the listing agent. How do you think you would find that info? Go to the listing. Okay. Boy, this is large. We're gonna stop in just. Okay. If you scroll down to the bottom, this is Rob Carino's listing. Look what happens when I click on his hyperlinked name. Woohoo! I found out everything. I've got his license, all his contact info, his office, their address, everything you need to know to fill this out, you can find by clicking on the listing agent's hyperlinked name. It's all there. Okay?
What if there's two agents listed? I saw
You
something.
pick one. You pick one, and I mean, I tend to pick the lead agent, but
Is it
there is a
identified?
room for both.
Is it identified as the lead agent in the listing?
Yeah, usually it'll have a name, and the next one will say co-listing.
Oh,
But there truly is no right or wrong.
okay.
You're okay if you use either one, because they're definitely from the same office. Okay, so pretend we have all that filled out. I'm gonna click Save and Share. Renita has two places to sign. And if I click Share, she's gonna get an email from Dotloop that says, Renita, you have a document to sign. Click here to get started, and it zoom, takes you where you wanna. Remember when you joined this office, you did electronic signing in Dotloop? This is what it is, exact same thing. So only two things, and then we're gonna stop until Diane comes in. I wanna show you, put on your listing agent hat for a second. Let's pretend like Renita is the seller, and I need her to fill out the seller's disclosure. Because we don't fill it out for our clients, because we don't live there, you know. And you don't want anything to come back on you. You said there was a blah, blah, blah. Community association disclosure, seller's disclosure, sellers must fill out. So how do you enable them to do that? You go over here to this privileges, click on the little down caret. There are choices. You pick can fill in and sign. Now, wherever there's a place to click or type in, she can do it. So that's how you enable your sellers to fill in forms. Remember those buyer beware, what you need to know about mold and whatnot? When you send them to your clients, typically it's view only because there is nowhere to sign. Okay? And usually Dotloop is smart enough, it knows when there are no signature fields, and so it will just pop up view only because there are no signature fields. We are gonna pause. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. Bathroom break, sorry. Absolutely, y'all, we don't want any food left over, so help yourself.
Have to press the space.
Yes, sir.
I need to show it to you though. So I don't know what happened, but I went back here.
This is the one that I sent you. You first, okay? This isn't yours.
It's special.
This is just,
Everything.
this is ours. You and me, it's actually mine. Okay.
So I changed all the names for it and everything. No, but I didn't add this, like even the purchase and selling agreement, the other stuff is still there.
Okay, can you, I want to go back to seeing all your loops. Okay, how do we know? Cause see, here's another one that says Ryan and
Yeah,
it's
but
today's
that
date.
was today's date too, yeah. Oh, okay. No.
Somehow you must have created two. So, okay, what I would recommend for this one is, oh yes, we're gonna archive this one. Why does it say archive? Okay. Yes, All right, now click your refresh circle.
Did you just get your license or have you had yours?
Why had mine?
So,
I got mine in
Yay.
2006.
I clear out.
Easy.
Yeah.
But I had to take a long
Yeah,
pause.
it is so easy
So,
to get confused.
I never really got started, to be
There's
honest.
a lot of
I had to get a
information.
job and work. Put it on pause, the cost, I didn't realize office fees and this fee and that fee, and I'm
Oh my
like, I
gosh,
can't afford it.
I know. I know. So,
All right, so how'd you hang?
I'll do it. I have to play with it. And here's what I want to ask.
Thank you for calling Dotloop, where it's all about paperwork, not paperwork.
Guess what?
For sales, press 1. If you're on mission work, press 2. If you're not at Dotloop either, press 3. Please hold while we match this phone number to your
No,
Dotloop
the
account.
seller's not gonna pay the buyers.
If you are having trouble logging into your Dotloop account or need help resetting your password, please press 1. Thank you for calling My Transactions powered by Dotloop. Please hold while we connect you to the next available
I'm
agent.
just reading it. You're talking specifically about your title.
You didn't get to the end of the sentence.
This is what I read. Well, thank you.
So, yes, if the seller's not gonna return, the closing attorney has to do what's called a mail away. They have to prepare the docs, they FedEx them to them. They have to go to another attorney's office, blah, 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 it costs money.
All right, that's all I had. I just had some, I was just looking at
Hi
it.
Ben, this is Diane Black.
No, but that
Services at,
explains why you were thinking the reverse.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I had a lot of
I
questions,
have
but
an agent who we set up in Dotloop.
a lot of
but
it's
when
gonna
she
get
goes
covered
through my
in
KW
another
and
time
presses my
anyway. I'm not
transaction,
comparing some of the same things.
she is thrown into
Oh, I
the
have a
generic
question. Why
Dotloop
does it put here?
file, not the Keller Williams one.
Not procedure purchase.
So then once you use that generic Dotloop, what's the member ID of that generic Dotloop?
13
And it's a
3342.
You
You
have to pay something to do something.
I don't know, I've got 1333.
I know,
Right?
7.
Renee Dillon is the only person I know that can answer
That's
that.
9?
I know it's valuable
That's right.
consideration. You have to have something.
Yeah, it's a lot of noise in the background there.
Yep.
There's a lot of noise in the background there.
Who knows who picked $10?
Okay, so that one I'm not showing has a sign on established. That's really confusing. Want me to confirm that number with you? 13334279.
That's right.
Huh. Might have gone with it, because generally, like, what we call a single sign-on,
Oh, I
and that
know.
account
That's,
doesn't
here's
have
the
one
one.
set up.
Well, I think this was one, this was one that when I sent her some documentation earlier,
So,
yeah, I sent it out of mine, I think she accidentally, accepted the account, but then when I set her up in our Keller Williams, office account, now that when she presses that, my transaction concern, it just instead of her Keller Williams.
okay, because we're under the.
Absolutely,
Okay,
yeah.
just checking.
This is the only account you have for
Right,
her?
I didn't finish reading.
And let me tell you, it gets sticky when someone's already moved to Colorado.
Yeah.
When they want their local agent to oversee the repairs. Like, you gotta make it, I mean, you can help them and, now, he,
What I need to do is clear out the quote-unquote.
but you have to keep not really making decisions when gathering information.
And
on your client,
it's not there.
you make the call.
I'm not sure why it's bringing her into that account.
Yeah, so it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It doesn't happen often, but it does
Yeah.
happen.
Right, I still USS.
Okay.
Okay. What is your actual account, like, her actual member ID number or email address?
That paperless thing
Her
was
email address
actually
is
pretty good. I wasn't gonna go to it,
Lisa
and I thought, I just wanna see what I
at
can do. She
KW.com.
was going over this, setting, how to set things up. So I kinda got to see this before you went over it, to some degree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You had it right, actually.
I know, I wish I could have.
Yeah, at least it runs with
Yeah.
bus. Plus.
Tia let it, she's left already.
Yeah. Thanks for giving us the special credit, as much as I can remember. What? Then you know what you don't know.
And just to confirm, you go to my transactions, it brings her into that account that does not have.
Yeah, but this really, this Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It makes you.
I don't show either of her accounts having a single sign-on.
No, contracts is the last place you want to mess up.
No, I'm oftentimes, I took note of the first couple of days when I stopped. Yeah.
No paperwork.
Now, some of the stuff that you were getting, like at the,
Bullet points.
some of the stuff's on the red, I call it the key, the dongle that y'all gave us. Those documents are also on there, but the Dotloop is always gonna have the latest updated forms, right?
What's actually
Yeah, I can send you the first couple of weeks if you want. Because she did say, she did hit on those couple of things. Tests that we have.
So most people get this stuff right away.
Did not look? No.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, trying to figure out, it's hard for me to look at this and watch because I'm slow at it, but you know, someone's better just to watch, but you gotta get home and play with it.
That's why
You take it without getting the.
Okay, that turned to Keller
takes a long
Williams.
time.
You need the account number?
Moving a document up and dropping it.
Let me just check to see if her single, if that her single
Initially, you
sign-on.
gotta do it.
It feels like this makes me think
Yeah. I'm showing that being
I think the
established.
part, one thing that was hard for me, there was a couple of things that were hard for me to grasp. One was that email, from where you captured that email, and I know what you're doing, you're sending, grasping that form somehow and sending it into your Dotloop.
It's on
And I only just started using that. Historically, somebody sent me a doc, I had to get in there, just download it, and then I click the browse, the middle, and upload it, just like we do that with a lot of other applications.
Where's Jean's work?
Just use that. You don't have to do the other. But see, in the classroom, different people are different.
Not where we are now, she's in the
Levels of, comfort with technology.
But we're in this now, we're in the Keller Williams, so.
Well, yeah, I'll
Eventually be able to.
practicing is very good. Start really doing all, to create your own practice buyer loop and practice, we call it dummy buyer loop, dummy seller loop.
I think if I learn anything, I just want to get really good at FMLS. I mean, number one, FMLS.
Absolutely. You can't find property, you gotta find property for your clients. We'll help you with the rest until you get it under your belt.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
But when you get a chance, maybe this afternoon or something, if you have a chance, you know that spreadsheet you got in Excel for track that's for
But, because you do have to.
following people when you first get them, and if you think they might have a possibility of listing or buying a house, and you want to make sure that you're sending them the notes and all that, you have a spreadsheet in Excel in your computer.
I know, and you mentioned this before, and maybe exactly did you see that?
Well, maybe it wasn't. You just had some kind of, you might have been talking about your tracker, which is just strictly the number of people you have. But
So I think mostly what I've shown is
So.
Excel spreadsheets of databases.
Are you good at creating Excel
Mhm.
spreadsheets?
That should.
I'll get you to create
This
one.
should-
I'm
this should-
very slow. I
Because
know a little bit
ultimately,
about it.
You know, you can create your own, but then you gotta put it in the order that it needs to be to go into Edge or go into Gmail or go in, you know, because there's a.
Well, I think,
can't use it, it'll say, you need a.
I think eventually what I'm gonna do is just take a handful of people
Oh, yeah, do
and then put them, like have columns and then just have note, just contacts all the way across. And then I'll just put the date and what I did, and I don't care if it's in the order that they did, because sometimes there's a logical reason, way to do it, but.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is there a place to search all Keller Williams listings on, is it on?
Okay, just in Atlanta?
No. I want to look
Like
at
all over the
state.
country? Here we go. Okay,
Your
hover
company's
over
not
technology.
gonna have to turn something on your
And
computer.
TKFS.
You don't have access to all that together.
Okay, so it's like the public merge.
Kind of, yeah, okay, that's good, yeah, that's
Thank
a good
you,
explanation.
Diane.
click all. I've actually never looked for all over the country. I was just experimenting. Selena was asking if you could search all Keller-Williams listings all over the country.
No, not for them.
So I have to do like the consumer site?
Consumer site, or you can go into, if you go into,
Actually, I don't know why I want to just
Fine.
Keller Williams. I actually want to look at anybody.
okay, go to
Yeah.
MLS.
Yeah.
FMLS, okay. Oops. That fingered something.
Here's my list, so you don't forget.
I think it's because I've had
Oh, okay.
logged into so many systems today. I'm forgetting which one. Okay.
Their product. Go to bind. And with it.
Rachel, what was when they were talking about, you were explaining, it was that quiz question.
What is it?
When they haven't reached an agreement
It's much more searchable.
on the earnest money, what'd you call it, it's an interpleader? I remember that term from our test. So normally, you said it so well, I just want to write it down.
Yeah, so
making
if
it
the holder
What's she saying?
can't really interpret it, or if there's like a major dispute,
We started
the
at
holder files an interpleader, and that's where they basically like give it to the courts.
Oh, I put court, because
Yeah.
I couldn't remember, yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
it's an interpleader.
Brian,
Mm-hmm.
you learning some
How
things
much?
today?
Yep.
They end
Okay.
up having to pay
Good. All right.
for, sometimes the earnest money.
There will be
it's
Dotloop,
not enough.
contract
Right,
extra.
and that's
Because the
normally
courts are
like
gonna get it all,
what
are they not?
yeah, that's like what I've said to people when
You
they
know,
like get ahead of themselves.
We know full
And,
well
Because like when
that
people
we're just
have
dumping
like
information.
sync
Oh, yeah.
type personality, they start thinking
Yeah,
like
you
worst case
remember all
scenarios
right.
and like, well, what if
We're
this
hoping that the
happens,
next time
this
you-
happens, and then
you
I don't get
see
the first
really
money
well.
back, and I'm like,
The next
"Turns
time
out
you
you're
see
gonna
it,
get your
though,
money
like,
back." Because
I've seen this before,
$1,000
you know.
for a lot of the
But the only
purchases
thing
that I
I
work.
was asking about that,
Over the large,
Right,
you need
legal
that
fees would surpass.
You know how you went to
earnest
search
money.
bar?
yeah.
And I'm like, it's not worth it.
Can
And
I
a lot
just
of times,
search
like,
at the top
seller will
all of
write
those
it,
sections? Or
Yeah.
but they
I
don't
have to
actually
select
pursue
one and then
anything.
search it?
Like
Yeah.
Tara and Gary, my
It is
team,
one of
It is
the
one
they've
at
dealt
a
with
time.
people being like,
Sadly.
we're gonna call our lawyers.
Now,
And they're like, okay,
one
have fun.
exception.
Let us know.
and there goes, and now.
Have your
and
lawyers
now
reach out to
you're-
us and
now
they
they're
never do.
doing
Amendment.
Right,
There are
right.
about
'Cause,
five
I
different
mean, the
iterations.
because
If you
because
type the word
the
amendment,
court
those will all
fees
come up.
come out of the earnest money.
But those other,
legal fees, legal
How much
amendment,
does
if you type the
interpreters,
word
charge?
I have no
Fine.
idea. I have no idea. I
Maybe
just
the
know from my
various
experience,
finance
like
contingencies.
with leasing and
So
stuff,
it's a
they
legal
would
search,
threaten
you
to
know,
sue
just
for their
think how
security
that-
deposit. I'm like, your security deposit was $300.
Yeah, because if you say, if you
You're
start
gonna
with the
spend
word
more taking us
exclusive,
to court. That's what I would
there are
always
lots
tell
of
them is like,
exclusive
give it
listing
away.
agreement, exclusive buyer brokerage.
Yeah.
So it searches based on whatever word you put in.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
Unless you're dealing with like the big guys.
Okay.
it's not.
yeah.
Diane is coming.
Hey, Stacy, are y'all, at any time, have we got in the course about, contracts for referral fees? Are we gonna cover that?
We have a, document
Mm-hmm,
that covers everything about money,
mm-hmm.
and that is.
Lord, you
Okay. It is in. Whoops.
I know it's in there, I just wonder if you're gonna go over it, if we've got, that's part of Ignite or not.
Well, we went over earnest money and green sheets, which is part of that.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
document.
yeah,
So we don't typically cover referrals, but look, here. I went to there is a referral form.
Mm-hmm.
And so every possible thing that you would need, this is your sort of starting point. Anyway, I will create something that, like, Diane, whenever you're ready. Okay. Hold on a second. Oh.
Was everybody at team meeting this morning?
I was
No,
not.
I couldn't make it. So you can do yours if you want. But Karen, just finish that thought in the lease. I created this document, office procedures for leases. I'll do the same thing for referrals.
Okay.
And I'll put it in the
Did you hear
referral
that Renita got
thing.
3
Okay.
listings?
For real? Oh, wow.
All yours. So we lost Renita and Tia,
Just
but
by
they're
walking up to, for sale
repeat.
owners.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I'm so glad.
That's awesome.
I know she was like so
We're recording
Yes.
and
That's
you
so
can know anything you want. So I told them that you would be, you know, next summer or whatnot, but. So while she's pulling it up, what I didn't tell you was, so you created the offer, your client signed, you've signed, what do? Well, you have two choices. You can either share it with a listing agent through Dotloop. Some listing agents will just insist, no, I want it as a PDF. And so you're gonna download it and send them an email with it attached as a PDF. But the critical strategic, remember we always have to think, okay, what's my strategy here? You want to make sure they know it's coming to look for it. So what if I'm emailing it to them, email, hi Sally, attached, please find my client's offer on 123 Main Street. Looking forward to hearing back from you soon. Please confirm receipt. Then I go to my phone and I send her a text. Hi Sally, just sent you an offer via email. Please confirm receipt. And don't you go to bed till you get it, because you know this is somebody could slip in and beat you. You know. So anyway, if you haven't heard back from them like within an hour, you have permission to be a nag. You know, now if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, no. But you know, if it's a reasonable time, I mean, gosh, one time I sent one over and she did not, now it was in the evening, and she did not confirm until the morning. I was sweating bullets. But, I mean, she did confirm by like 8 a.m.
What was normal agents times 8 to 8? I mean, 8 in the morning or 8:30, 9, 8:30.
I try not to call somebody after 8 o'clock unless we're in active negotiations.
Yeah.
People make mistakes at night. They're tired. They're distracted.
And in
Their
the
kids
morning.
are pulling on them. You know, they're.
8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I would
8:30. I think
and I think twice about texting before, because a lot of people have their phone like right on their bedside, and sometimes people go, "I'll just text this," and they'll see it when they wake up. Well, no, they'll wake up at 5:15 when you send it.
Well, I'll wake up anyway. So.
Now, assume that not everybody's like you.
No, I know they're not.
I did that for a hairdresser one time. I was like, I said, about 15, hey, you change my appointment. And she's like, right back. And I'm like, oh.
That's funny.
She got a good tip next time.
It's funny. Everybody gets on to Facebook late at night. When I can't sleep, I just get, you're just looking for something to kind of help you go back to sleep. And it's amazing how many people get pinged from Facebook in the night. If you ever look at when people sent messages.
A lot of night owls.
Yeah.
Okay, so the part, let's see, if I'm just want to make sure I'm in the flow here. What y'all have been doing up to this point would be making offers, and so now we're going to be talking about receiving offers. I think we've already established we don't receive offers at 5:15 in the morning. We generally, I try to get, if I've got an offer. On one hand, you've got a client who is just busting. They've got this offer, they're scared, they're nervous, they're excited. There's a lot of emotions going into that. And they want to answer right now. And that's seldom, if ever, the case. Normally when an agent gets it, they may be with another client, they want to look it over before they send it to their seller. I mean, as an agent, the first time it comes in, you don't want to say, oh, here, we just got an offer, I'll talk to you about it later. You want to be able to note that there are some items in this thing that, oh, we need to look at this a little bit more carefully.
But your client will ask you, well, what's this? What's this? What's this? And if you haven't looked at it yet, boy, are you a dummy.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about multiple offers in a little bit, but, so just kind of ignore that for now. But the, usually when an offer comes in, the first thing I do is I, read it, top to bottom. I check the price, because everybody's interested in the price, right? I'm checking the closing date. Are they looking for a reasonable closing date? Are they looking for how much money in closing costs? Is that, are they, if it's a $100,000 house and they want $8,000 in closing costs, that's not going to happen. I don't know if they talked about this a little bit, but there's some limits as far as how much you can, ask for in closing costs depending upon your loan.
Is it a percentage? Sorry, is it?
Yeah, if it's under 95, if it's 95% or under, it's about 3%. It's about the most you can ask for without affecting the value of the house. Over, under 95%, down to 80%, it's pretty much, up to 6%. So, I'm looking at that. So I'm also looking at, who's the agent? Do I know them? Do I like them? Do I have a reason not to like them? I mean, it's a small world, guys. Everybody knows everybody. If you're in this for more than 2 or 3 years, you're going to know agents all over town. Some you're going to love working with, and some you're going to see an offer and you're just going to go, oh my goodness. That's okay. At least you know what you're dealing with. Then you're going to turn over and you're going to look at the special stipulations. What else are they asking for? Are they asking for a home warranty? Are they asking for a termite bond? Are they asking for the pool table? Are they asking for all the patio furniture to stay? Are they asking for the washer and dryer and the refrigerator? Those are popular things. A lot of this stuff should be on a form called a bill of sale because it's not actually part of the real estate. But some agents get sloppy and they just put it in the steps. So, we deal with it. They may be asking that, hey, we want your house professionally cleaned before we move in. We want the carpets clean. We want this, we want that, we want, they want everything in the kitchen sink. We get the kitchen sink, I don't know about everything else. But, so I'm kind of looking at that. And then I'm looking at the deadline to respond. How much time have they given us to look at this offer and think about it? If they're really excited about this, they're willing to, they've given me a very short time period. Typically, it's courteous to give about 24 hours. Sometimes you just can't, if I'm giving you something at 5 o'clock, I don't think it's unreasonable for you to let me know by 2 o'clock the next afternoon. Because if that's not going to work, okay, fine, I'm going to move on. So after I've gone through all that, then I'm looking at the financing. Because to me, that's after the price, that's probably the most critical part as far as I'm concerned. Will these people be able to follow through on this transaction? How much money are they putting down? I mean, are they getting 100% loan? Okay, they've got no money. Okay, it happens. First time home buyers got to start somewhere, right? However, if they're putting down 30%, I'm like, much better, because at 30%, mortgage companies are a lot less stressed over. I used to be a mortgage loan underwriter. Okay, just FYI.
Really?
So they're a lot less stressed over that. The more money, the more skin in the game you've got, the happier the underwriter is. And they'll overlook some things for a lot of money that if they're already on the, kind of squeaking by, they're just going to go, yeah, we don't want to put this much pressure on somebody. It's A, for their own good, and B, for the bank. So good. although the borrower never seems to think of it that way. So I'm looking at the loan. You know, is it with a lender that I'm familiar with? You know, if it's with one of the big box banks that, you know, has a history of kind of being slow on processing, you know, I'm looking at, you know, well, are they going to be able to close this thing, you know, in 30 days or 21 days? I don't know. They haven't yet. What makes me think, you know, that's going to happen? And then I may call if I've got questions, I may just call that loan officer. You know, if I've got that pre-approval or pre-qualification, I say, hey, I've got an application, you know, I've got a, you know, offer from, you know, John Smith, you know, anything I need to know. Most loan officers will not tell you their credit scores, which is good. I wouldn't want my credit score spread around. They're going to be asking about, they'll probably say, oh yes, very well qualified. You know, they're like, oh yeah, no problem. It's like, okay, that's kind of code for you, nothing to worry about. Yeah, I'd like to see them stay under such and such. Okay, there might be some asset issues. I mean, they're not going to get the details, but you can get a lot from the conversation, just talking to them. And at that point, if you've given it to your client and said, look this over, we will talk in an hour or two, give them a chance to kind of digest it, then they come back and they go, so what do you think? I hate that question. What do you think? And it's
All
like,
the time.
It's like, well, this looks good, this looks good. I'd like to investigate this a little bit further. What do you think of the price? Well, P.S. I want more. I've got $150,000 house. They you know, do you think they pay, you know, biggest question, do you think they'll pay more? Well,
Where's that crystal ball?
I don't know. we can see. You know, what about, you know, are you willing to give up the refrigerator? You know, no. Okay, well then we need to, you know, cross that out. Are you willing to give up the washer and dryer? Oh yeah, I got those from my mother 20 years ago. Okay, great. Yes, we'll keep those down. Patio, furniture, whatever. Do you want to clean the carpets before you leave? Well, no one ever cleaned carpets for me when I moved. The contract does say, you know, it should be left, you know, broom clean, you know, basically, which apparently different people have different brooms. Some people will leave everything just sparkling and sanitized and clean and pretty, and other people are, you know, they're still leaving, you know, whatever behind because they're just so in such a hurry to get out. You know, just deal with it. Sometimes as an agent, that will be a gift from me to the homeowner if we know that the seller is probably not going to be leaving it in the state that we would like it. I'll go ahead and hire a crew. You know, it's a couple $100. You know, happy closing gift. You know, I'll clean your house for you when you so it'll be clean when you do it. So anyway, you go back and forth with your client. They're like, well, I really, you know, think we can get them up to like 145? Well, we'll try. Let's see what we can do. So at that point, you've got a choice. You're either going to take the offer, you're going to reject the offer because, excuse me, I'm asking 300 and you're offering 200. I don't think so. You know, go bottom feed someplace else. Or, you know, okay, let's see if we can, you know, counter. You know, the counter offer form, people get really confused about that form because they feel like they have to fill out the entire form. And that's not the case. If you read the form, guys, read your forms so that you know what they say. You'll get them from other agents and they'll be all filled out and you'll go, what? They're just changing they're just changing 1-2 things and everything else is the same, but you have to compare every single lot to make sure that they got it. So you're doing a counter offer. So you come back and go, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, 140 is not rocking my world here. You know, let's look at 145. You know, maybe we can come up with something here. And yeah, I'm not paying $5,000 in closing costs. You know, I'll toss a couple of grand your way, or none. You know, depending on it's depending on the seller. I mean, the seller is kind of in the catbird seat. However, if you can point to your neighborhood comps and say, every other house in the neighborhood has had to pay, you know, a small amount of closing costs, then they don't feel like they're being taken to the cleaners. Oh, well, everybody else is doing it, I guess I better do it too. Just kind of eases the way a little bit. I've just been doing comps in one neighborhood in Warworth, and all the houses are like between probably 450 and 600. Every single one of them, the minimum closing cost is 5,000. The highest one I found was like 11,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's substantial.
It is. So, but every single house. So, of course, my buyers saw that and they went, I'm not paying for closing costs. It's like, yeah, you think. But then it turns out that his company, his real company, is paying closing costs, so he doesn't have to. So he's actually in a better position. See, I'm not asking closing costs like everybody else did. So you're actually getting a better deal than you thought you were. So it depends on how you spend it. So you send the counter offer over, and the counter offer also has a time limit. When you send a counter offer over, you are basically changing the terms of the purchase and sale. The purchase and sale does not get signed, and that upsets people sometimes because it's a long document, it's got a lot of words, and people think they should sign it. If you're not accepting all the terms in that contract, then you don't sign it. What you're doing is you're signing the counter offer. And the counter offer, will have space for the buyers, the sellers, the agents, and everybody else to sign. It takes up practically the whole third page. And then on the front page, it has just the items that you're changing. So I'm just saying, okay, I want 145, and I'm only going to give you 2,000 in closing. Everything else can stay the same. I don't care about your closing agent. I don't care about your, lender. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the closing date. I'm okay with everything else. I'll even clean the carpets for you. What the heck? But or you could say, in special steps, seller does not agree to sell refrigerators. Seller does not agree to clean carpets. Whatever the seller is not going to do. Spell it out. At that point, it goes back to the buyer. The buyer has to sit there and go, okay, well, that's about as close as I was going to get. So, but they might come back. I've seen them go back and forth 6-7 times. It's the worst, I think. But usually it's only one or two. It's like just trying to, sort out little details. It's nice if you can call the agent ahead of time and say, look, here's what we're going to be sending over a counter offer. Small adjustment on price, small adjustment on, everything else is good. And that way they are kind of mentally prepared, to get it and let the buyer know, hey, they're sending over a counter offer. Oh, good. They didn't just throw me out the door. So they're excited. So at this point, the seller is either mildly insulted, but okay, they're okay with it, or else they're like, excited that they got an offer because they've been on the market for 3 months and nobody's even sneezed in their direction. So at that point, once everybody agrees, you've actually got a deal going forward. And you've got a binding contract. Once everybody signs on it, it's binding. Binding is a huge date because that's the date everything flows from. Your deadlines all start on your binding rate, not the date on the front of the purchase and sale. That could have been 3 days beforehand because y'all have been going back and forth, arguing over the refrigerator. At that point, your due diligence starts, your financing contingency starts, your appraisal contingency starts. Everything flows from that date.
I have a question about that. I've heard two things.
Okay.
Does all those dates and everything start, like let's say we go binding 5 o'clock on whatever date. Does it start at 5 o'clock on that date, or does it start the next day? And that's how
Day one
count.
is the next day.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
So, for example, if you started today,
Because I've had listing agents argue with me on that, and I had to clarify that multiple times. I'm like,
day is considered until 12 o'clock unless specified otherwise.
okay.
Most people don't specify.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while you'll find somebody that specifies business day to be defined as, until 8 p.m.
Okay.
So, you get the feeling that they're kind of like, okay, we're over this. We're over this 11 o'clock, negotiating a, okay, so for April, okay, let's say you took a binding offer on the 23rd, and you had 7 days of due diligence. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to end on the 30th.
Thank you.
And it ends, I assume, midnight on the 30th?
Midnight on the 30th, unless specified otherwise. Now, sometimes deadlines get dropped, and that's sad when that happens. Depending on what side of the table you're on. Due diligence, if you all have not resolved all the issues in due diligence by the end of that deadline, either the buyer is taking it as is because no agreement has been made to any changes, or the buyer's going to come in and say, yeah, I'm done. I can't agree on this. I'm terminating. They can terminate. That's one of the things that's so great about Georgia. If you're a buyer, you can terminate you can decide you don't like the color of the house anymore, and you can terminate.
When you say as is, so like say if there were multiple counter offers, then what would be considered as is?
She's talking about like repairs.
With
We're talking about,
like that.
someone's done a, someone's got a contract, they've done an inspection, they come up and they say, hey, we want you to replace the furnace, we want you to replace the roof, and we want you to, buy us a new, toilet for the powder room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe not. Depends on how bad shape are they. I mean, is it not working? I mean, do you need it fixed? I mean, I don't do this. Whatever the situation is. But within that period of time, if you went binding on the 23rd, then by midnight of the 30th, unless you've got an agreement, you're done. I mean, they're taking it as is. They've lost any ability to negotiate at that point. So that's why a lot of them will either say, okay, I'm terminating the contract. Often they'll come back and they'll go, I couldn't get my structural guy out there to look at that crack, in the basement, and he can, we need a couple of extra days. I'm kind of a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush kind of girl, so unless I've got a good backup offer, I'm probably going to go ahead and give it to them. Work with the one that brought you. I mean, dance with the one that brought you. I mean, there's an expression there, but if you've got them there and they're interested in the house, don't play hardball. I mean, unless there's a reason to. I mean, it's always nice when you've got a backup offer in your pocket, because when they start getting really ridiculous over, repaint all the holes, in the living room from all the pictures, and refinish all the wooden floors, and do this and do this and this, and they're going, did I mention we have a backup offer? That quiets things down.
Question, can another agent, is it illegal for them to act like they have another offer?
It's an ethics issue.
That's an ethics.
You're misrepresenting.
Yeah, I haven't been
I mean, especially if it's a multiple offer situation. I mean, I'm very upfront. I've got a backup offer. I had one recently. A guy came back and had 11 things on the amendment to address concern, and I just kind of shoved it across the table and said, no. We'll do A, B, C, and F. We're not going to do the other stuff.
Okay, what did Virginia say this morning? What did Virginia Moran say at sales?
Well, I've already talked to the buyer about this. Yeah, it's not we. It's the seller.
Right. It's not we are doing this.
It's not we. It's the seller. You're right.
Yeah.
No, the seller's already said they're not going to do this, and this. So it kind of takes you out of the equation too. It's not like against the world type thing. Now, multiple offers. So if y'all weren't here this morning, this was fun. This was actually a spreadsheet that one. This was actually a spreadsheet that one agent prepared for their seller to kind of pull all the information together, because they actually got 7 offers, but they just kind of narrowed it down to 5 here, for this purposes. So we've got a house over in Stone Mountain that was listed for $183,800. So we've got 5 offers that ranged from offer price of $190,500 all the way down here to $193,000. So what he's done here is he's brought in all the terms so that you're not laying all the contracts out and trying to go from one to one trying to compare them. They're all right here. They're easy to compare, and you can kind of get a feel for what's involved. So one of the things, it just kept going. I was impressed. Usually my comparisons, have about 10 issues, and that's about it. But notice he brought it all the way down to net after concessions and repairs. So that 183 listing price, you had this one going for 189,960, 190, 178, 450. Yeah, they're not in the game. 189,500 and 188,65. So a lot of the things that they were looking at were, like one person noticed, hey, over here, they're not even asking for due diligence. They're just going to take it, there's no financing contingency, there's no appraisal contingency. You don't have any deadlines to worry about. That's amazing. And then somebody said, well, yeah, but why is it 6% here instead of 4? Did they have credit problems, or are they just being generous filling out forms so that we know that they'll take anything up to 6%? There's 2 ways of looking at that. Either they got 6% because they've got lousy credit and that's the best they could do, or they're saying we will close at any rate up to 6%. That's the thing about the financing contingency form that a lot of people miss. They get the form and they get the pre-approval from the lender, and the lender says 3.75, and so you write in 3.75 on that. They went, well, but what happens if the rates fluctuate? So we foreclose it, and they go up to 4. Well, your buyer's gone out. Because they say, well, no, I said I wasn't going to close, but went over 375, so I'm out. Get on my mind.
And so that would fall under like their protection in the financing contingency. They get their earnest money back. I did not know that.
Yes.
Huh.
So, now, but what you do have to confirm with the lender is that can the buyer go higher? I mean, they may just be at the edge of their credit at that. How much play do I have here? Can I go up to 4.25? Yeah, that's pretty
Would
good.
they still qualify?
Would they still qualify at 4.25? Oh yeah, no problem. Okay, fine. Then I'll probably put in 4.25.
You would put in the higher one versus the next one going on.
Right, because I want to. I don't.
Leave some room.
Right, I want a little bit of wiggle room.
And remember, your clients freak out, your buyers. They're like, I don't want to commit to paying 4.25. You have to explain. That we're not committing that that's what you're going to do.
Right.
But we're committing that if it does go up to that you won't walk just for that one thing.
So that would look better in the eyes of a seller, right? In the offer, like if you have higher than what's maybe on their letter,
But
showing.
in this case, the fact that it was so much higher, everybody kind of goes, "Whoa, what's wrong with her?"
Yeah.
But as it turns out, they were just being very generous, saying, "Yeah, we can afford anything. Let the market fall apart."
Is that an indication of someone that might be wanting to flip a house? They just want that house real bad, and they're probably not even.
Well, they're paying 102%. But so most flippers are trying to get it for under that, so they're paying full price. I mean, so there are lots of different things to go back and forth on. Just kind of looking at this, which one would you all have chosen? You don't have to choose it. You're not choosing it. The seller's choosing it because you're just presenting the information. But they're going to ask you, which one do you think is best?
I probably would have done the Remax offer.
This one?
Maybe.
Okay. Why?
Well, because they're at the, once everything's said and done, they're paying over 103%. It's conventional. They have a higher interest rate that they'll go up to than the other conventional. But I don't know, that's the 6% conventional one's just kind of like throwing me off. But their closing date's a little bit further, but
Probably.
I don't know. It would
Okay.
take me a long time to work through these.
Travis, what about you?
I actually agree with Rachel. I think I would take the Remax one.
Lisa?
I don't know, I'm tempted to take the all cash one. It just seems less risky.
Okay. Ryan?
I'm gonna go with the 80% and 6%. The Palmer House.
Palmer House, okay. Helen?
No, well, I will prefer the old cash one.
All cash? And Selena?
Well, the all cash one, I mean, you want to close the deal and get paid as soon as possible and have the least chances of something going wrong. So it seems like that would be a good one. Because you could always fall back on the other ones as backups, accept those as backups.
Well, interestingly enough, they went with the number one. Knock. That's the one the seller chose.
So, can you add some color? I mean, everyone says, oh, Knock tries to lowball. Well, they're the most competitive offer.
Well, yeah, and there was some discussion about that this morning because somebody said I wouldn't work with Knock because they beat you up on the inspection, and that's risk that they're taking, But the agent said that it had actually been a very smooth transaction up to this point. But a lot of people have complained that working with one company or another of these, open house, Knock, whatever, that the initial price is good, but the clause for the repairs is such that, you don't end up netting as quite as much as you had anticipated.
And let me just clarify. I thought Knock cut us out of the deal, so I'm a little confused.
Well, in this case, what's happened is that Knock has a buyer's house, and they're buying this house for the buyer, and then they're going to be taking over the buyer's house. So they're representing the buyer on both sides of the transaction.
It's not one size fits all. It can be different scenarios, just to keep us confused.
See, it's funny because nobody this morning picked Remax, which I thought was kind of odd because I was kind of leaning toward Remax myself.
Because and they have over 1% in earnest money too.
Somebody was saying like this Palmer House one. They said it's kind of light on the on the earnest money. They would counter and come back and say, hey, can we need to up this earnest money a little bit?
Right, that was a takeaway, that when you get multiple offers, you need to be fair to everybody and give everybody the same amount of time to get their offer in and everything. But if your seller is leaning towards somebody, you can go back to that listing agent, that buyer's agent, and negotiate on their weak points.
And this isn't an all or nothing. This is the person I want to work with. And we can still counter on other items.
The other thing is on the if you look at the offer price, Palmer House offered the most to start with. Of course, the seller paid was
$3,800 with the
more in
with the
closing costs.
Well, this one was $5,000. It's like, did you not realize this was a bump offer situation?
I would think an agent would want the fewer days due diligence, which somebody said.
It depends on the seller. What's the seller's goal? Do they want to get out as soon as possible so they can close on their new house? I mean, are they having to take a new job across the country, or are they, getting ready to retire and they need every penny out of this and they're willing to wait for it? I mean, it really depends on the seller's motivation and what is important to them. And it's going to vary.
Diane, a question I've gotten is, okay, you're the listing agent, offer comes in, at what point do you and your seller figure out what, this is gonna be a multiple offer situation? And I have said, as soon as I'm catching wind of the second offer coming in, because it is the seller's decision whether you're gonna send out an e-blast to all the agents saying, okay, we're off asking for highest and best, or we're in a multiple offer, here are the deadlines. But do you have a hard and fast trigger?
Not really.
Like if one offer comes in and you're supposed to let them know the next morning and you haven't gotten another one in, you gotta let them know the next morning.
You gotta kind of play with the one that brought you. But, I mean, I had one this weekend. You know, oh, they were gonna have multiple offer situations. They wouldn't let us know until Monday. And I said, yeah, no, this guy's gotta buy a house this weekend. So I need to answer by 10 o'clock Sunday or else we're going on to the next one.
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, 9:15, here comes the counter offer. Translated, well, we didn't get the multiple offers we thought we were gonna get.
Yeah.
Another one was like, oh, we've got 10 offers, we're calling for highest and best. It's your buyer's decision. But frankly, highest and best frosts me because supposedly I gave you my highest and best.
Yes, I hate that. I've been dealing with that all the time. I've been venting about that to Terry.
I mean, that's just my personal take on that. I mean, I really got an agent mad at me one time because I did have a house that was in a multiple offer situation. I had 4 offers. We picked one, went with it. And they said, you didn't call for highest and best. And I said, I assumed that you gave me your highest and best.
Right.
And they went, well, no, we could have gone that much higher. I said, well, you probably should have been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you
Especially
recommend?
if you just told them that there's multiple.
You know, you said earlier it's an ethics issue because on the personal transaction side, I've had stuff where I'm like, was it really multiple offers? Was it really like more than? I've been in highest and best, and we didn't do highest and best, and we still got the house. You know, we didn't play the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, and sometimes they're just trying to milk you for a little bit more. Let's see how high they'll go.
So we just have to suck it up, or is there? At what point?
Well,
do we?
Like I had another client this weekend ended up in a multiple offer situation. They said, we're calling for highest and best. And I went, that's okay, we're gonna stick it. Poker.
Yeah. I've had clients that the offer we made was the best we were gonna do.
I think going back to kind of an ethics thing. I mean, are there any red flags that we would say? I mean, I guess we would take it to Brad or something and say, or what?
Well, you mean if you suspect that the listing agent is lying to you?
Yeah.
Well, it's not about you, it's about your client.
Right.
Okay, if you feel like your client's been harmed, talk to somebody. But if they were just a jerk to work with, and
if I was countering on a highest and best, I would put a clause in there that I would want to see the first page of all of the other offers, with a successful.
Okay.
Yeah, if I was successful.
Yeah, because again, I just think of competitive,
especially with
competitive
escalation
situations.
clauses. Especially with escalation clauses.
Yeah.
Because I want to, if you're saying, okay, well, it looks like you escalated, gee, all the way to max. Really? I want to see the other ones. So but that's just me. I mean, and it's been my buyers at that point, but it's really your buyer. I mean, do they like to play poker? I mean, do they just want to get the house? I mean, what's their motivation? They might say, oh, heck with this. No, I'm going to the next one. I'm not going to get into this, beauty pageant.
Yeah, some people do not like to compete. Some buyers.
So you just have to be guided by
your client.
Any questions about?
On the date of offers, I mean, it's a 6-day period difference between all these offers. How long can you?
Okay, this scenario was unique. He had an older client who went on a cruise out of the country. And she was unavailable for the better part of a week.
So that's
they were a little
normal.
They were a little taken aback. Usually it's like within like a 48-hour window. One of the things that come up with offers like with things like this is estimate of net to seller and estimate of cost to buyer. First question that a seller has when they get an offer: how much money am I going to make? This form is in Dotloop. It's also in RDocs in XMLS. The one in RDocs actually has some calculation figures behind it, so if you put in numbers, it'll calculate numbers for you. The one in Dotloop, you have to kind of use your calculator. In this case, we had a seller buying a $275,000 house.
I'm gonna blow it up a little bit.
Oh, thank you. Buying a $275,000 house. Thank you. And first mortgage principal balance after last payment. You know, you're the agent. How do I know that? Well, because you asked them. During your listing, during your listing presentation, or during your, somewhere along the way, you said, how much money do you still owe the house? And some agents go, oh, I can't ask that. That's too personal. You're not asking them what their credit is. You're not asking them what, how often they paid their mortgage. You're not asking them if they've had any late payments. You're just asking them the balance. This is not, anybody can kind of figure it out. I mean, sometimes they don't know. They just keep making their payments. They don't know the balances. I've often gone to Bankrate, and I've backed it, and you can find the, you can find their mortgage online, their security deed online. You know how much of a mortgage they got. It's right there on the tax records.
Okay, Diane, I pulled up bankrate.com.
We don't need to do that. It's
the calculators. I mean, I'm not going to show step by step, but
yeah, we can try that. Usually go to a different.
Okay, well, tell me where you go.
Well,
I don't want to say we're going somewhere.
It's a history. I mean, if anybody's interested, I'll show you, how to, as far as the history goes. But there are lots of sites online that can tell you what the interest rate was in March of 2007. It's just a history thing. There's lots of history things. You say it's like about 3.5, or 5.5 or whatever it was. Then you can kind of you can do a fake amortization table, and you can kind of figure out that their balance was probably around 90,000. Just kind of rough estimate. This is an estimate. We're not going to take you to court if this isn't wrong, right? Most people don't have a prepayment penalty. Most people don't have a failure to notify bank penalty. The accrued interest, how much the outstanding balance is, whatever their rate was, and then how many days to closing. So they're closing on the 10th, so we're saying 10 days from the beginning of the month to the closing date, and that's going to be their accrued interest that they're going to have to pay. So it's a little bit, $113. We're assuming they don't have a second mortgage. Don't assume that they don't have one if it's not on the tax records, because sometimes they're HELOCs and they're not recorded. So you have to ask that question.
Everybody know what a HELOC is? Home equity loan.
Line of credit.
Line of credit. Okay.
So cost of sale. How much is this going to cost me? Well, if your seller is not bad. In this case, the seller is making a contribution of closing costs of $3,000. Unpaid property taxes. Well, we pay our taxes around here usually in September, October, November, depending on your county. In this case, what's going to happen is that they were going to be in the home from January 1st until May 10th. I think that was the date up there, June 10th. So there's going to be 161 days worth of taxes that they are going to have to pay for because they live there. So the title company or the closing attorney will figure that out. So in this case, it was $1,581. Special assessments. Well, they're going to pay $250 for their HOA letter. Isn't that horrible? Most of them are about 150. I've seen them at 300. It's like nuts. Survey, they don't usually have to provide a survey here. I mean, unless it's part of the negotiation, but that one was never filled out. Home inspection, repairs, cleanup. I'm very generous. I say figure about $4,000. If it's less, great, you're making more money. You know, if it's more, well, you know,
What was the sales price?
$275.
Okay.
Real estate brokerage fee, you know, $275,000, you know, $16,500 is 6%, you know, in this case. Document prep fees, FHA and VA, they have a little line on there saying that the seller will be responsible for, you know, it says seller or buyer. It's only about $50 or $75. I mean, it's usually, and there's a line in there saying that, you know, we'll just wrap this into the closing costs that you're already paying, you know, to pay it on top of that. So just kind of keep an eye on that. And then other, well, I've got lots of stuff here I'm trying to figure out. Home warranty, we've agreed to pay that, so that's $550. Payoff costs, well, we have to, there's fees involved with paying off the loan, and the bank may charge them, you know, for providing a letter, a payoff letter, or they may, you know, be charging them to send stuff, you know, for the courier to, you know, transfer the money or whatever. So this kind of wraps up those costs. They agreed to pay for a termite bond, so you know, they paid $300 for a termite bond. So altogether, all their costs are going to be $26,291. And then after you pick them up off the floor and you set them down, they're getting some credits. You know, they're probably going to be getting, you know, their escrow account refunded. So depending on how much they've got in there, you can ask them, how much do you have in your escrow account? But estimate about $3,000. You're getting HOA prorated. You've already paid your HOA fees for this year, so the buyer is going to have to pay you back, you know, for the time from the time you closed until the end of the year. So actually, you've got a little bit of credit coming. So by the time you get up to by the time you've compared the cost of here, $275,000 minus the $93,000 for the expenses, minus the cost of the sale, plus in credits, their balance should be about $158,000 walk away money. You know, some of those numbers are going to change around. This form is a little intimidating when you first look at it, because you go, ooh, yeah, I don't know how big these costs. You know, after a while you kind of get a feel for it. Now for buyers, that's going to be a little bit different, because buyers are bringing, you know, instead of taking money away, they're actually bringing money to the table. So what we did on that, and sometimes if you're sitting down with somebody, they're starting to make an offer, they go, well, how much money do I have to bring to the table? And this is the form that figures that out. Now, the nice thing about this is that they've already been to a lender. The lender's already given them a lot of these costs. So generally you can tell somebody that all their costs and everything is going to be between 2 and 3%. You know, say 3%.
Of the purchase price?
Of the purchase price, just to be on the safe side. It's going to vary a little bit depending upon how much the mortgage is, because some of the fees depend on how much the mortgage is and how much the warranty deed was for. The intangible taxes, stuff like that. But generally they're going to run like between 2 and 3%. If you use 2.5%, you come really close most of the time. But just if you're sitting down at the kitchen table and it's, you know, 9 o'clock at night, you're all trying to figure out how much money this guy's got to bring to closing, you know, pull this up. Say, okay, up here I said financing costs approximately 1.5%. That's the financing side. That's the bank side for all their stuff. And then check charges like let's see, intangible taxes. There's some closing costs in there. A lot of those include like the owner's title insurance, the fees that are come with underwriting fees with the lender, owner's title policy with the attorney's office. Sometimes there's transaction fees with the bank. a lot of different things. I mean, they're all spelled, this is like an old form. This form's probably about 10, 12 years old. And now that we have to abide by TRID, and they have to have a CD 3 days prior to closing, plus their disclosure at the beginning is much more robust, saying that they pretty much, I really don't use this very often, but I just want you guys to know it's there in case you do, have to use it, and you go, oh, no, ask the lender. It makes you sound ridiculous. At least you can pull this up. For example, in this case, I was saying prepaid interest, they've got 20 days of prepaid interest. Figure they're gonna have about 4 months of taxes in escrow. Their homeowner insurance is gonna be about 2 or 3 months worth. Homeowner's insurance, $1,400 first year, just kind of a guess. Transfer tax and the intangible taxes based upon, the cost of, the actual cost of the house. Proration of property taxes, this is fun because this is what they're getting back from the seller because the seller, already paid some. Their earnest money. It's funny, so many people ask me, well, do I get my earnest money back? Yeah, you can try it. No, we're not taking it and having a party with it. It gets applied. It gets applied to closing, and then it kind of gives you a total estimate of how much this person was going to bring to closing, $60,000, because they were getting a fairly low. For a $275,000 house, they were actually getting a loan amount of $220,000, so they were actually doing a whole down payment of $55,000, which is kind of unusual, 20%. So this form is in here. Take it out, kind of play with it a little bit, and see if it makes sense to you. And if not, you can always punt them back to the lender, but you really do need to kind of be aware of some of these costs. But if you tell them between 2.5% and 3%, you're probably pretty close.
And this doesn't do the math for you. It just
not in Dotloop. It doesn't do the math for you.
Quick question: can we delete something in Dotloop?
No.
Archive.
Dotloop assumes that anything you do is part of the transaction, and deleting it is
Sneaky.
mischievous.
Deleting it opens up questions as far as paper trails.
I just wanted to delete what we did earlier. So I
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
You can change. Actually, what I do sometimes, I'll change the title of it to delete it. Like that. That way, I'm not always looking at it going, what is that?
Yeah.
Any questions?
This was super helpful.
You said that was in our docs. Does it for you? Where's our docs again?
In MLS. That's the transaction.
Okay.
MLS.
Okay, are your heads exploding?
Yes.
They're swelling with knowledge.
Tons of information. Tons. But guess what? This is it. Once you get a client, this is what you're going to do. So, this is part of doing real estate. Now, we want you to focus on getting clients, but the
only way you're going to keep a client is to serve them. And to serve them, you have to kind of know what you're doing.
I'm getting a transaction broker.
So what?
I'm getting a transaction broker.
Like I said,
so
we don't really use
your evaluations.
Like I said, we really don't use the buyer one very often anymore because of the CDs that are published with the lenders. They have to give out so much information, much more information than they used to. If anybody here ever closed like a house 10 years ago, you got one form. It was good faith estimate. Totally useless piece of paper. It kind of gave you an APR, maybe. But the CDs right now really have a lot more information on them. I don't like the fact that they're 3 days ahead time, but something? It makes for a really smooth closing. Because you got really tired of getting to closing, going, well, I didn't say it's something for that. I didn't get a copy of this till an hour ago. I didn't just look at it. Well, it was just stressful. This way you go in, everybody's seen it, everybody agrees to it.
Everybody already knows what the numbers are.
Takes a lot easier.
In, out, 45 minutes tops.
Speaking about
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you so much.
Question for you,
I'll get it.
Stacy?
Yes.
Well, I just try to upload the seller disclosure to MLS, and I did it in our docs. and
No,
it
no, I was
said
waiting
in
on you, see,
MLS
you said you're gonna look to see if you had it.
MLS did receive it,
Let me see if I got it.
but I did not see it from